What's up, beautiful people? I'm Nathaniel Pearl.
And I'm Sammy Sheva.
And welcome to Curious Chimps Podcast, a show where we explore the infinite complexities of the human experience.
We do not endorse anything illegal, so please, consult doctors, do your research, and for the love of all that is holy, be safe. All right, let's talk about drugs.
Curious Chimps.
What's up?
What's up? Good to see you guys.
What's going on?
What's up, man? Long time no see.
Yes. Happy to be back.
Pre-COVID. That's when I saw you.
Yeah.
Even before then.
Even before we even knew what COVID possibly could be.
Before we had this crazy vortex room.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. You didn't even see the studio.
No, I got a massage in this room.
Yeah.
Nice.
A while back. Yeah. Different energy right now.
Yeah.
Massage our brains.
Similar energy, but different.
So the plan, I guess, no plans, but the plan is fucking what's the X-Files thing? Like the I want to believe thing? Like we're gonna go full conspiracy.
We're going full yeah, please suspend your
Yeah, if this is not your thing, tune out now. But listen anyway if you're curious.
We want to go deep. It's going to be one of those kind of days.
There's a lot to talk about, man. There's a lot of things going on in the world right now.
The big question I think everybody's kind of asking themselves at the end of the day is what is going on? You know, everybody has some suspicions. Everybody's listening to certain things on mainstream media, alternative medias. And I think it's a little hard to kind of weed through the chaff at this point where there's just so much misinformation, disinformation, you know, contradictory information coming from expert sources that how do you piece through reality without, you know, your own due diligence of just constantly searching to try and break down what's actually happening. So,
and you still never know.
And even when you think you know, when you think you know, you still don't know. It's really unfortunate that information is so vast within our grasp because it's beautiful and it's hard because how do you know what the fuck to listen to?
Exactly.
You know, and that puts a lot more weight on your shoulders to sort through the shit and find the truth. And the truth, whatever it is, it's so buried in shit.
Yeah.
You know?
On purpose almost. I mean, the internet is such a tool for the people. The internet is such a if there is I think we're going to get all the way into it, but if there is a class of people who are looking to oppress the rest of us, that's
one way to do it.
The internet is a dangerous thing because if everyone starts to realize that they can talk to each other and that they're all the same and that we just want, you know, we all want the basic same things, it's harder to push war, it's harder to push all these things. So the internet, that being said, like the internet has been flooded in the past, 10 years with bullshit, with so much just disinformation. So you have people, you know, groups who are like the earth is flat. You have groups who are like they're like
Russian
being a conspiracy, you know,
farms.
Knowing that there's something off. Now, you know what I mean? Like nowadays, if you feel like there's something off in the world and you go look up like conspiracy stuff, you'll find the most ridiculous stuff alongside like plausible.
You'll find experts on both sides saying the opposite things.
You'll also find that.
And then you'll see debunked thrown everywhere. So a lot of things that actually haven't been looked into, they're titled debunked right off the bat. If you're just those kind of people that just sees headlines and goes on with their day.
It's kind of a perfect storm.
But also if you want something to be debunked, if someone's like brings up a theory that's like, you know, it's not gonna jive with the way you see the world, you can go and search whatever that is debunked, and you'll probably find something that will, you know, confirm your bias.
Yeah. It's just there's a tiny hallway of logic connecting a bunch of echo chambers.
That's the big problem of secondhand information, where you have these people who do go towards those debunking headlines without looking at the information firsthand. And like example, if we get into Erin Olszewski, she was the undercover nurse at Elmhurst that a lot of people are familiar with at this point.
I've seen that.
She went undercover, video footage, audio footage, recording what was happening because she wanted to put this out. We needed to see what was happening because there's too much disinformation attacking these nurses who were trying to show the unfortunately murderous processes that were taking place at the hospital. And right as soon as she puts out this video, and this is a very well produced video if anybody's interested, it's called Perspectives on the Pandemic, The Undercover Nurse. And right after that, a pharma bro by the name of Z-Dog, people may have seen him before.
Yeah, I've seen this guy.
Yeah, he immediately comes out with his debunk, and in the entire 15-minute debunk, it's just fallacious arguments.
Yeah.
And then he's using concepts of fallacies to dismiss her, saying, well, she's bringing up fallacies like you
But
haven't
he's
said
using-
anything.
He-
You've
he's
only
been
used
using-
ad hominems.
basically,
you know?
saying, he's like, she's an anti-vaxxer.
Exactly.
Like, whether or not she believes in vaccines, like, you can maybe, like, if you were gonna put some money on do you think she believes, if she's anti-vax, does she think that this is a hoax too? You could probably put your money on that. But to make an argument that's going to debunk, you need to do a little better than just because she believes that she's going to believe this too.
It's a blatant ad hominem.
Yeah.
You have to attack the argument. You have to attack the video evidence she's putting out. If you're not, you're just spinning your wheels, and you're part of the problem at the end of the day.
It's sad though, that seems to be working for a lot of these kind of debates. Is just you attack the person and what not related at all, and you can kind of capture them in that little
Fallacies in
box.
general. Yeah, you
Yeah.
can really trap somebody in your own logic. And I mean, Rogan showed it really well. Like, skeptics will be the fallacious ones. They're gonna pick apart your right-brained, like, holistic story and take pieces of it and then pop them, like pop these little balloons like one by one and be like, you see, this is not true. And it's like, you're just ignoring what the person is trying to present to you. You're not coming at it from, like, I know debate is a thing, but you have to be aware that, like, you need to kind of have this informed faith where you cater to or at least kind of just like humor or play with an argument to then kind of work backwards and see if it's true by pretending it's true.
It's hard. It's hard to let someone else's opinion or, like, side of an argument in enough to where you see it from their perspective completely.
Well, second, because the first one you hear, you're going to start taking as truth when you're younger or when you're not informed. But the truth is, all of our information is secondhand.
Yeah.
Vast majority.
Even people who are in it. If you talk to, like, a scientist, they're a specialist. They're relying on a bunch of information, and then they're doing part of the work. And then everyone comes together, and you get that weird army effect where there's, like, one or two people actually in charge, and a bunch of, like, useful idiots, a bunch of cascading levels of what do I know, what do I need to know.
The laws of power.
Yeah, that's it, man.
That's it.
Yeah.
The need to know basis.
and they're just compounding on top of each other, and maybe the foundation's fucking off, but they're so far into it,
It's a pile.
That's
it's just
a
a pile.
really, really good point, because that's something I think that if you have an understanding of systems and how systems function, you can make that connection. You could piece together that systems are often based off of assumptions, and the assumption may not be correct, right? It doesn't necessarily mean that the box that you're playing in at that point is necessarily wrong. You can still do things within that box, but it's a limiter. So we were having this discussion a little bit earlier about kind of the standard model of physics, where the standard model of physics is based off of the assumption of space-time, which we're starting to realize there's a little bit more to that. And you had people, the Teslas back in the day, who were opponents to Einstein and space-time theory and those kind of things. But regardless of the fact that there were people within academia who were saying, hey, that's not necessarily right, we still went ahead with that model. So we're still within a system that functions as a limiter that can be applied towards other types of systems as well. So whether it be the medical establishment that's based on certain assumptions as well.
The money, how it works, how they print money just at will.
Yeah.
And but anyways, go ahead.
Yeah, so you're printing money at will. That's a big can of worms when you kind of get into something like that.
But it's a system that it's an assumption that we've all agreed on. I mean, the fact that everything runs on a dollar that we all agree on is an assumption that we've all made.
It's a modern and very whimsical slavery, and everyone's like, but it's just the way it goes.
Yeah,
that's just the way
it's
it is.
not
It's the way it's
totally.
always been.
It's not totally like. It's slavery in the if you look at the practical application of how it's actually been applied, but like if you think about free market we don't even have capitalism in its purest form. Like we claim that we do, but it's really like kind of like an oligarchy where the people who have the advantage keep the advantage, and the rest.
We still use fiat. That's what money is at the end of the day. It's fiat currency. It's money created out of money. There's nothing actually backing it. We have no gold standard that was taken out in the 70s.
Yeah.
And, now you have shadow banks, these large corporations like BlackRock that are these trillion-dollar asset management companies that are behind the vast majority of the banks now. So they're in charge of, Trump gave them power over the Fed and the Treasury. They're already in charge of most of the banks, Bank of Canada, most of the ones around the world. They're you have these power players. Larry Fink, he's the CEO of BlackRock, and like people like that are the actual mechanism that's determining what's happening with our financial system. If we could take it back and have something on a gold standard, we can actually have we could at least try, a free market,
some kind of resource-based thing where value is connected to what's happening in real life instead of just like these manufactured
or even
numbers.
connected to something real, like crypto, like blockchain is not really something technically real in the physical, although you could argue that it exists on a network of computers, so it's kind of real. But it's the agreement that something is stable enough to be trusted. Like we're trusting the blockchain, we're trusting a couple things when we say that's the future of money, but
well, either way, it's all a good example of what we're talking about, which is like there's this system presented and all of your thoughts stem from that. Your entire world, views, beliefs, everything, and then someone goes, hey, but what about that money thing that you're basing the entire, like that box like you talked about? Yeah. There's just this thing at the bottom that's causing your entire paradigm, and most people, just by being human, you're not going to look at that. Because it's just like it's the water for the fish. Like you don't realize it's there.
It's almost hard for them to imagine life without it. Imagine how things would even work.
Yeah, I think humans are intrinsically good. I think we are at heart kind, and that's where our naivety comes from. And because of that, we are very likely to just take things firsthand without necessarily reflecting on it, and then we kind of get screwed over, and then we learn our lessons about how the real world actually works. And that's it's a blessing and a curse at the same time, right? It's this level of ignorance that we carry is what makes human beings beautiful at the same time and terrible savages as well.
Easy to manipulate.
Well, that's the thing. Is that there's a collect few that are pretty much using that good of the human quality to their advantage because we're naively
trusting. Yeah,
we're ignorantly following because this is the way it is, and we have trust in the system, and that offers corruption on the top, and that's so much easier to manipulate when you have willing participants.
If you get people to trust that they are in danger, then they will experience a fear, and then they will be able to commit things, atrocities that they may not have committed. Like, how do you convince? I don't know how many young 18-year-old men went out on the beach in Normandy and got like destroyed by a bunch of machine guns. But like, how do you convince people to do that? On either side,
very
crazy.
Strong propaganda.
There's a lot of funding in those systems, Those brainwashing systems.
Like brainwashing has a lot. Like the words have a lot. They carry a lot of weight, and a lot of people dismiss them. It's like if you say hypnosis or like just words that are God,
like new normal.
But if you repeat it enough, that's what I was getting at. Right. That's perfect.
Or COVIDiot, or you like these little catchwords that they're throwing out.
But then they're repeating, and then that just becomes part of your vocabulary. Mm-hmm. But that's at the surface level. But the unconscious level, there's so much shit that's being manipulated that it's not even surfacing.
Yeah.
But then all of a sudden you hear the word COVID, whatever, and then all this fear is attached to that's just embedded inside you.
Yeah. It's an appeal to authority, which is possible very easy with humans when you regress them. And for the most part, humans are like, if you get into the psychology of it, it's fucking basic. It's really obvious. Like we're all kids. I'm sorry. It doesn't matter if you're 30, 40, 50. You can be regressed instantly. You can be doing a behavior that you used to do when you were a kid, and obviously, like big time, what I'm getting at is if it's connected to trauma, you get sucked back into that moment very unconsciously, and then now the switchboard's open, and someone might be fucking playing with your buttons.
Yeah. Or if you're stressed, if you're afraid, if you've been in your house for 3 or 4 months with no job, not knowing if you're gonna have a future, not knowing if the career you built is gone, and you're gonna have to be like a fry cook.
No friends to throw ideas off of.
No one to touch, no one to share energy with, and like no sunlight. Like you're inside your house. There's so, you know what I mean? Like when you put someone in a situation like that, then you can get them to believe just about anything.
Yes and no though, because sometimes when you back the animal up in the corner just enough, it can go two ways. It can be obedient, or it can attack back. And I'm seeing that we spoke about it on the internet that it's a blessing. That it's so much information that it's hard to swift through shit. What I'm seeing as a symptom, I think on the good team side, let's just call it that, is the massive distrust that's being formed. Mm-hmm. And
it's important.
Recruiting more people to kind of be like, hey,
I think that's what's
what
happening.
is the
It's a
root of the
polarizing
problem?
moment. It's a catalyzing moment. It's interesting.
Maybe I'm too optimistic, but I think that side is what's going to overpower because there's so much shit that like we have the time now because of the 3 months of isolation that we got to start thinking at some point. And there's so many people. Me example, I saw you write about Pizzagate, and I had no idea. I knew about it, but I never looked into it. And then I just started uncovering all this shit, and then looking at different questions and different stuff, and all of a sudden, this whole database in my mind that I've researched that just shows me, hey, everything's fucked up.
Or or something that you thought was one thing, you see it in a whole other light.
Yeah, and I think that's happening for a lot of people right now.
That's the hard part for, I think, some people still, is that train of thought that's required with that understanding. Because when you come to the realization that, hey, the government might actually not be there for my own benefit, it might be actually working against me, that's a very, very contradictory worldview compared to what most people have. That's big daddy's taking care of you.
And yet, that's everyone agrees. You can get to a public place and stop every fucking person and ask them, do you think the government's corrupt? They're all gonna say yes, like it's a fucking meme.
Not to mention, sorry to cut you off, but this is a point worth mentioning, is the beginning of this whole COVID stuff. You saw the markets plummeted, but there was actually a few articles that got out. They got buried in the fear. But senators in the U.S. knew about this in closed door meetings way before this was announced to the public,
and bought it back.
And they sold their fucking shares the moment, I think a week before they announced it here that we got to shut down. Yep. So like this is actual evidence of corruption, and it's just swept under the rug.
If you know how to read a stock chart, it's in the stock. Like you know what I mean? Like you don't know who it was, but you see the evidence of before it's announced. You see people pulling out.
Yes.
And if you learn how the fear and greed works, how are you not? What human is going to be above insider trading? How are they going to just be like, you know what? I'm going to lose my money. I'm going to be noble here. Like,
this is a title of government that you have. And the fact that you're doing that at the highest level without punishment, I think a few of them got in trouble or whatever, a slap on the wrist.
Nothing really,
Yeah. So the fact that it's not a public fucking outcry for this, and we're not marching the streets about
the media is what controls
that's it.
Narrative.
And that's where the questions start forming. Is like, okay, this happened. Why is it not being reported? So you start going down those rabbit holes.
Those same people own the fucking media outlets.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, dude,
and
you have all those
in cahoots together.
I mean, if you want to go down like the Pizzagate rabbit hole, all the people in question, like Obama, the Clintons, all this stuff, they're all like tied to high ups at MSNBC, CNN, by marriage, by family, like they make it
they're
about
all
blood.
at the same dinner parties.
Yeah, definitely.
Just keep in mind that's their network, so they're talking to these people on a daily. So they're all embedded together.
Yeah. Just to add on to the financial aspect of the stock market that you were talking about, I'm somebody who does play the stock market pretty often, and I've been watching it for several years at this point. And COVID, in my personal opinion, is the smoke and mirrors towards the stock market crash that was already taking place. So quantitative easing 3 was the last bout of them printing infinite money that happened, and that ended right before Christmas.
Yeah.
The stock market started to peter out in January. We saw it starting to happen. And a little bit after that, that's when the headlines for COVID started coming out. And in my personal opinion, that's the pretext they were putting on top of the crash that was already happening by design, which alludes to all these senators and people who knew in advance about what was happening, and they were able to take out their money beforehand at the top.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of evidence of that. A lot of people in the stock world, economists, people who understand that kind of thing, saw it right off the bat.
What do you think's happening financially? Like,
I think there's a coup. So in my personal opinion, all of COVID is a pretext for a coup on the United States. And I think that's a fake plague is more than enough to kind of trick people into something like that. These organizations like BlackRock, these large Israeli Mossad assets that have, they're transnationalists. These are people who are not, these financiers, they don't
have the interest of Israel at heart. They have
no interest towards any country, right? They're beyond
there,
countries, and they manipulate them. It's like a game of Risk at the end of the day is the way they're playing it. And, it's a financial takeover of the United States. Right now, BlackRock is in charge of the Federal Reserve and the Treasury. Trump just handed it to them. And then unfortunately, you have like the QAnon types who are like, oh, that means Trump is going to save the world.
Right.
I don't know.
Well, if it's Israel driving the bus now, then maybe not,
That's the problem, So we have like these, it's because these large asset companies and these kind of transnational companies are not they don't answer to anyone. We answer to them, and that's what's scary. So like Vanity Fair, this is a 2010 quote where they're talking about BlackRock and the power they have. They refer to them as the Blackwater of finance, almost a shadow government.
Right.
Because they're the ones behind it. This is Vanity Fair coming out on their, like, not even expose, but it's like a positive puff piece that they put on Larry Fink and how much power he has and all that, you know? So, yeah.
So when you say a coup on the U.S., like what's their plan?
A financial takeover.
So, like,
it's bringing them into the hegemony of the new world order.
I mean, I see,
state
like,
that we're heading towards.
I see it as a coup on the people. It's like ourselves, kind of like where you have a class, let's call it the middle class, is basically being, if not eliminated, like heavily squeezed out by the fact that they're not allowed to operate, and that all of the people that pay them, like all the people around in the cities, and you know,
they're afraid of them though.
They're afraid of them. They're afraid of working. They're afraid of you know, making the economy go, basically.
Look, I went to one of my favorite restaurants the moment they took the lift where restaurants could open, and I started talking to the owner, and the guy was fucking miserable because all the regulations that he has, he said it's just not possible to operate a business like this.
No.
If they have to shut down one more time, they say he's not reopening. Mm-hmm. And how many companies are doing this right now? How small time businesses. And the fact, I'll use a Walmart as an example, the fact that Walmart could stay open and sell everything,
And
not
expand.
just food.
Yep.
Expand, sell appliances, clothing, but you got to shut down your clothing store.
It's a power grab.
It's a consolidation of power towards the transnational
it's-
corporations. There's going to be Amazon,
And this is not a
Walmart, and
conspiracy.
Halliburton. left.
Yeah,
This is
but
not a
but
conspiracy.
the
It's a
funny
Follow the money,
funny
man. That's
part-
all you got to do.
The funny part is that they actually think or believe that if they keep pushing this, that people are not going to do anything about it. Like, what's the end game? Like, Walmart owns everything.
Yeah, it's super
You know?
super communist, centralized,
And it's
decisions
happening right now, right under our noses.
Yeah.
The thing is that there's so much anger because people are fucking furious, and they're trying to direct it in different ways,
They're
and
trying to-
creating
yes.
class wars and,
Yep.
and race wars, and they're trying to see if they can steam off some of that anger and all these little topics. Well, no little topics, the massive
Yeah.
topics, but they're
Or
it's-
get people to, I mean, because I have some people that I know who are from the same kind of life as me, who are like advocates for Marxism, for communism. Like, they're like, this is what we need to establish in our world, and I find that insane. I mean, I think they were. I mean, I think Marx was onto something. I think the idea of people sharing, people, you know, being there for each other is
Humans don't work that way, though.
That's
no,
what-
but
that's
well,
what-
there-
I wanted to put that point. I
free
had
will
this-
is important though, because you
Yeah.
can't legislate that kind of thinking. It has to come from within.
The problem is that human nature. We spoke about it with the system that we're currently running. It's corruptible, and that if everyone,
Corruptible,
like, it's a beautiful idea, a utopian idea that just in reality, the human nature, the ego that slips in for even one person, gets off track. They're gonna fuck the whole system up,
Yeah.
and they're gonna take everyone's resources and just control it in like a dictatorship.
Yeah.
You know, it's a sad reality, but it's onto something. But I don't think it's the solution.
No, but it shows that there is a sentiment out there. Like, there are people out there who have been educated to a point or brainwashed to a point where they think that the best thing to do right now, like, okay, capitalism is not really working. America as an experiment is not really working. Let's go full communist. Like, I don't think that's the.
They
That's-
don't.
I
They
don't
don't understand
same here.
the implication of it. They don't understand what happens when you have a centralized decision over every aspect of your life. We are individual creatures. We need to
Yes.
have that kind of decision making for ourselves. And personally, I've always identified as an anarchist / libertarian, which is unfortunate to Antifa, the exact opposite end of the spectrum that they're trying to put it on. It doesn't. It's you have communism on one side and you have anarchism on the exact opposite end. You know, they're polar opposites, and
Although
I think
some would say that they're on the same side of the spectrum politically.
that's how they try to sell it. I
Right,
believe
but,
the government
yeah.
is trying to sell its own non-existence as chaos, right? So it's going to
Right,
because
right.
in an anarchist system you don't have the state. You can still have cooperations, you still have voluntarism and all these other ideals, but you don't have an entity that has a monopoly on force. And that's why you always hear that association of anarchy being chaos. That's the government's rhetoric that they're going to put
No
out.
force means no. It means
It
anyone.
means
can
I don't
have force.
exist anymore,
Yeah.
so that must be chaos.
Well, anytime
you
you
know?
threaten the main power structure, they're going to come up with ways to sway the public opinion.
Yeah,
Exactly.
So
psyops.
you're
The-
literally threatening the man.
The word doesn't
Exactly,
even mean what
yeah.
it means anymore. Like anarchy etymologically means
No more king, right?
no God, no masters.
no masters. Archon is a word that means master, and it doesn't mean master like I'm good at the piano. It means like I own slaves. So anarchan means without masters. So you still have like
That's some Game of Thrones shit.
yeah, but it's important because when people say anarchy, they think of Mad Max.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, just back it up. What we're trying to say, what we're really saying, if you don't twist it, is decentralizing the government. We can take care of ourselves. Capitalism kind of works.
Blockchaining the government, you know?
Anarcho-capitalism is a thing. You know, anarcho-capitalism is a concept, is an application of an anarchist system,
It's the
no
next
government.
evolution,
Yeah,
as far
and
as
I
I'm
think
concerned.
that's a very positive direction we could potentially head to. People have a bad taste in their mouth because of the word capitalism, but I agree with Mark. I'm in the same camp where I don't think we've ever actually experienced pure capitalism or a real free market. At the end of the
Everything
day.
gets hijacked.
Are you a
It's
fan
been
of Peter
sold.
Schiff?
I like some of the stuff he says, yeah.
Yeah. I listen to some of his stuff. Yeah. I just wanted to throw that out there.
Yeah, no, I like a lot of his points on gold and certain things. I agree. There's certain aspects of precious metals and getting away from fiat. Fiat is a slippery slope because that's how you get hyperinflation. That's how you get these kind of really manipulable kind of markets.
That kind of stuff, as a human being who just lives his life, like that kind of stuff feels like it's over my head. Like when hyperinflation and all that stuff, like does that really affect me on my day to day?
I think it's all make believe, half of it,
Yeah.
right? So it's like when you're playing in finance and you start to realize that everything, like derivatives and all these kind of concepts, where it's a bunch of math that was made to obfuscate by design, so and uses specific like semantic kind of words where it makes it complicated to understand, and then you look a little bit deeper into it and you're like, oh, that's basically long division.
just
Okay,
math.
I can
Yeah,
I
it's
get what they're
simple
trying to say, but it's so hidden behind such a
when it comes to
complex-
money, right? They have to have these new ways of expressing the math, and they call it other things.
anything that would benefit you, right? It's the same idea as lawyer jargon, right?
Yeah.
If you understood how to properly speak in law, you can defend yourself, but it's hidden behind so much jargon that it's next to impossible
Yeah.
by design.
You know, that's the same system when the churches used to have, where people couldn't read the actual Bibles, so they had to go to the man, the priest, and they would interpret it for them. So we have like these little priests in different fields, and in law we have that. So you can't defend yourself even because the jargon you won't even understand it.
Yeah.
In finance, you won't even understand what a derivative is. That's like one simple term in finance.
Exactly.
But for the common dude who's not into that, is just going to be fucking fuck that. I'm going to hire a professional to do it.
Which I think is the intent, right? They don't
Of
want
course
you to
it's the
understand how simple it is, because me and Mark, we slowly been getting into the stock market and just learning how quickly you can make money off of these things and how these people manipulate it. There's a reason there's that divide. And there's a reason I think they play on this hierarchy of intelligence where they're going to educate their own through private schooling, through classical liberal arts, like the proper knowledge you needed to actually function, critical thought, quadrivium, these kind of things, they're all removed from public education. You know, I didn't learn about any of this stuff in school. I learned it afterwards because I found out how the internet worked.
or the
That's
laws of
only-
power or whatever, like the 48 laws of power. Like, I mean, I've read those, and I think that if you want to go after power, that's a great way to do it. Is read those laws of power.
That's
But
a great book.
But I think going after power in itself is something that we should be talking about, and something that I think it's a part of our nature. Like there's positive and there's negative. We can choose to be seeking to enhance ourselves, to seek power, or we can choose to enhance the whole, which is seek service to others, or what's the opposite of power? I don't know, but
It's easy for the
Service,
powerless to
yeah.
talk that way.
Opposite
I
of-
feel
It
like
is, yeah.
I feel like the elite fuckers, like like we were talking about, it's all like incestual and it's all in the family kind of thing. You know who you know and all that jazz, which is how life works, how humans work. Like we were talking about capitalism, like it's just how we work.
Yeah.
We can't fuck with that system.
But it comes from a place of fear, though, being up there.
Exactly. But all of this is fear.
All of it.
Even the high ups and the
Yeah.
useful idiots that we talk about and stuff like that. Like these concepts are all built out of fear. And the idea, what I find funny, it's just a side point. They're just running on their karma also.
Yes.
Like they're not like we rule the world and we're God. Like maybe some of them might think that because they fucking do,
But
in many ways.
It's our karma too, because like it's such a big thing on this planet that all the entities are, at least all of the humans are dealing with it, with that.
It's becoming a global thing, and that's what's cool. That's what's interesting is like the riots become global now. The COVID thing, it becomes global. I mean that's if it's a
It's almost like the final step. Like if there was a group that was trying to put us all under one power structure, then this is the play. It's going down now. So the fight's not over, right? Like it's if I don't know if you guys. I mean, I know does martial arts, but like when someone makes a quick and sudden move, there's often a scramble. So there's often like a time where you're kind of both suspended in the air. So say someone shoots a takedown on you, there's a moment where you're both floating in the air, and between that and like kind of when you land is where the guy who shot the takedown is going to try to consolidate, stay on top, get past the legs, and the guy who got hit is probably trying to like maybe catch a submission on like or improve where he lands so that maybe he can escape.
You know what it
It's
is?
like a Hail Mary, like where the tables can turn.
But it shows the intention, right? It shows the hand. So the hand is being played. Now it's like everyone together.
Yeah.
Like everyone stay home with the...
That's an interesting it's an interesting example, though, because if you really break it down, that's a 50-50 chance for either side for that split moment.
Yeah, it's probably not exactly that. It's probably like I don't know, there's probably some like 52, like depending on how good the technique is.
It's the closest thing to either side.
Yeah, but it's when something happens, because like the two guys can just stand there for the whole fight and just look at each other and nothing will happen. Yeah. You'd be like, that's the Illuminati. Like, I don't know, is he? But then as soon as they play this big hand, and it's like it's a blessing because it shows. They have to show it to you. They have to get you to buy in.
Revelation of the method
is
one of the ideologies apparently that they ascribe by.
You have to because consciousness. I mean, this is because I don't know if any of you out there have ever heard of the Law of One or read the Raw material, but
I need to
that's a whole can of worms.
Yeah.
But Ra is essentially an entity who says that it is the social memory complex of a civilization that is much more advanced than our own. So they basically lay out the workings of how the universe works, and even what's going on in our little existence here. Like, sort of, what are the powers at play? What are the things that we should be trying to do?
It breaks down a lot of the fundamental attributes of human existence. I felt in a very, very intuitive, but still
fucking confusing, like complicated way.
Some of the language it was using. So I'll touch on my experience
Go ahead.
I had with that one, where I was trying to get into the second book, Raw 2, and the first one I was able to digest a lot of what was put in. The second one was just hard. It was just some of the concepts, some of the language was being used was kind of just over my head, and I was having a mushroom tea. I had done a little bit of psychedelics that evening, and I was going through a meditative moment. So I was, just sitting there contemplating things, and I came to this acceptance point of myself where I just accepted that I know nothing. There's so much knowledge and so much information out there, and that letting go of my ego, that just opening up to the universe allowed me to experience, and this could be all imagination. Yeah. Could be all, it was still very profound to me as an experience. So as I'm giving into that acceptance, I feel this light, this energy right above my head, and I start getting bombed with understanding and knowledge. And it's one of the most interesting experiences I've ever had. As I'm going through this moment, I feel a fearful thought, a fearful entity, a dark entity comes, and it just spooks the light. And the light's gone, boop. And then I pop back into myself and still experiencing this. And what I felt was so mind-boggling about this is after that week I started reading Raw 2, and I devoured that book.
Okay. I find it harder than the first book.
It is.
We're talking about the archetypes of the mind and stuff, and I just find I kind of lose the plot because the first book is so profound and so interesting that it's like I'm still I just want to hear more about that kind of shit. And then he goes off on to the archetype of the mind. But it's also partially because this whole material was basically Ra will only answer questions. So like Ra won't just like pop into a channel and be like, hey, this is the way the universe works, blah, 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 blah. Apparently they tried to do that. Like they came to Egypt, and that's why we have the name Ra.
Over there, yeah, I heard.
From there is because they were actually there, and they were like, hey, we're Ra.
Can you guys maybe just give a little summary of what Ra exactly is?
Okay.
Just for the listeners.
The raw material in general, yeah.
Okay, so basically in 1981, a group of 3 people, there was Don Elkins, Carla Ruckert, and Jim. I always forget his last name, but it's like Mick something.
Jim last name.
Jim last name.
Jim Mick last name.
Jim Mick last name. Jimmy Mick last name. That's like a fake name you give it. So Carla and Jim were both very into channeling. Like they had been practicing the art of channeling, I guess. For
Caveat, they're academics.
Yes.
They were all very scientism, like very into it, and they just started exploring the paranormal, and
Yeah.
they fell into the rabbit hole.
Yeah,
Like,
Don
Yeah.
specifically was
yeah,
very.
he was a
please continue.
he was a physics prof. So it's not like he was just some like crackhead who was like, yes, I love channeling. This, you know
No,
what I
they
mean?
applied the scientific method
Yeah.
to channeling Ra.
Were they doing it through psychedelics or was it
No,
meditation?
No,
meditation.
actually, Ra addresses the use of psychedelics by the channel and says that like LSD is a channel enhancer, but it's random. Like you can't really, it's not advisable if you want to have any real contact. But like if you want to go to the spirit world, LSD will take you there, kind of thing.
I believe it. I've been there.
Yeah.
So basically,
Get on
yeah. So yeah. Back to it, whatever. It's like January 1981, and they're in the States. I forget where they're at, but somewhere in the States, and they are experimenting with channeling. And then I guess Ra comes in to like. I don't think they sought out Ra. I think
they did. Okay, sorry.
I-
I'll just interrupt you with
That's
my
what
knowledge.
Yeah,
sometimes.
go ahead, because that's what I'm not really clear on. Is like, how did they locate this entity Ra?
They were looking into this stuff, and they started getting into like ghosts or whatever,
Yeah,
like that
exactly.
kind of paranormal, like
Yeah, yeah.
80s version of paranormal. And they found groups of people, circles or whatever, like ceremonies sort of, where people were channeling like specific people or entities.
Okay.
And one group of people and one guy in specific, they were very good at channeling Ra.
Yeah.
I think this is the story. This is a
Okay.
long time ago. So then they got this guy to come in because he had like a deep connection to Ra, and then they kind of like tuned the girl to
He
be
helped
able
her
to
to
do it.
be
Yeah.
able to
And then so
receive
he
the sound.
bounced, and then they just were interviewing one of
Yeah.
their own,
Whoa.
but like as Ra.
Yeah.
Jeez. Okay.
It's super heavy.
It's crazy, yeah.
And it's both super heavy and to someone who doesn't want to go and think that way and break the locks that they have on their mind about how the world works, it's a turnoff.
It's
So
a fundamental lock of duality, which
Yeah.
is why it's so complicated when Ra talks, because there's no like this and that. It's always one thing, and it's
basically Ra says we are experiencing an illusion. We are experiencing incarnation, and that there are 7 levels of existence that a consciousness can embody, and that all there is consciousness. So this earth that we live on, the rocks, the water, that's all consciousness, but it's the first kind. It's like the starting
The
point.
first layer.
the first
yeah.
separation, let's say.
Yes.
The first subject
Yeah,
object.
yeah. So there is nothing, and then there is everything. Kind of like a Big Bang. Like in a certain sense, there's just a thought that consciousness has. So and then everything it becomes that. So that's kind of like that's hard to grasp as a human being right off the bat.
It's systems, right? We're in a material system on
Yeah.
that assumption. So because of that, it's so difficult for people to change their train of thought, where our system teaches you that your brain is creating your consciousness versus the idea that your brain may actually be a radio receiver, and you're
receiver.
tuning in
Yeah.
to the signal.
Ra always said, like, Ra will always refer to you as a mind,
body complex.
mind and body and spirit complex. So like there's 3 aspects that are all the same aspect, but to our, I guess, interpretation in this current existence that we're in now, it helps to see them as like 3 separate
Interacting
things.
bodies,
Yeah.
sort of separated, maybe. But
I imagine it like
intrinsically-
if you imagine a cube, if you were to like, which is it's
A black cube.
a black cube, any color cube, it's a 3D object. But if you were trying to like reduce it to 2 dimensions, and you would take a cross section of it somewhere, you would get a square, right? So Ra actually mentions that there's a cube can be extrapolated to a 4D object called a tesseract, and I can't conceive of that, but
with every
helps.
angle has an extra 90-degree angle, right?
I don't really know how it would
Because
work.
I remember Carl Sagan was explaining it.
Yeah,
I
how
think
do you get a
it's a
4D object
cube,
from a
a
3D object?
hypercube.
It's a cube, but every
I can
corner
try it,
has
it's fine.
another 90-degree angle, but we can't perceive
Yeah.
it.
So I imagine like our existence is kind of like that. Like we're like a cross section of a spiritual thing that is much larger. And so like you're seeing a 3D sort of like
shadow.
Like if you imagined being a 2D thing and then passing through a 3D world, or having a 3D world pass in front of you, you would just see like pixel after pixel.
That's it.
And you'd be totally confused as to what's the order of all these things. And I feel like that's kind of what's happening when we look at like quantum mechanics, or we look at the foundation of we can't understand it. It starts to break down.
Or maybe UFOs.
Yeah.
Or maybe
Like you're seeing an image of something that's way bigger.
You're seeing the 3D form.
2D world. Like Carl Sagan made.
Yeah.
That's one of the things that I wrote. Flatland, exactly.
And so basically there are these fucking...
So we're only seeing shadows of the next dimension.
Yeah, and so there are... Consciousness goes on beyond just this. So there's there's, intelligence that exists on higher planes.
Even if you look at it as an emergent property, it can be both. That's what I like about like going deep into this kind of spiritual and metaphysical stuff and trying to apply it to our world. You can kind of merge it with science and be like, okay, like rocks are not conscious, but like they kind of are, because if I touch it, it knows my finger's there. So is that consciousness? Not exactly.
It stops me, right?
It's
like,
awareness.
Yeah.
It's a kind of awareness. It's just physics. But if you build on that, you get like atoms and molecules.
I mean, like we've been looking at it. We've been excluding the rocks in terms of our study of consciousness
because they don't have sense organs, pretty much.
Yeah, well, it just seems
Can't
like an obvious thing to do, to be like not interested in the rock. And,
Some people do, unfortunately.
as a scientist, to be not interested in the rock and be more interested in the human being or in the rat or the dog or whatever. Like
or the rock in context to the sense organs. Like,
right.
what can I do with this rock in this 3D world?
But I'm saying we haven't really, like, the model's not complete when we look at it through just like consciousness. Like if we're trying to say what is consciousness, like if we're trying to choose if we include the rock or not, we haven't come to a complete understanding yet. Like we still see a bunch of mystery as to why consciousness exists. Where does it start? Where does it end?
Why are we special? We literally have not seen anything in existence that is at the human level. Right?
Well, but
so
yes and no. You know, like dolphins and crows and shit.
Similar levels,
stuff, right?
Speculation too.
They say we don't know. Is a dolphin able to philosophize and write? There's certain aspects that we don't know about.
They don't have the type of language that we do. But like, that's what I'm trying to get at when I describe consciousness is like, if you look at the building blocks as basic, like one-dimensional consciousness, and then you build into that into the 2 and 3D, and then with us, with cells and all this shit, you put it all together, and then you get this certain kind of tunage, or like an antenna that can pick up or express. It doesn't have to be some mystical outside force. It's like gravity.
Well, the science works to me like the science of DNA is constantly striving to create something that can experience consciousness at a higher level. It's how evolution works. That's the point, and that's why I bring up crows and dolphins and stuff. They have a different shaped brain than us. Like there's literally parts of your brain that matches in all other mammals where it's like, oh, this thing in the front is bigger. Okay, they can like stop and think better. Oh, this thing in the back is bigger. Oh, they can regulate their emotions better. So if you have a certain combination of it, then you get a crazy monkey who wants to explore everything and not necessarily murder everybody, but kind of. And then if you get like a crow because it has a big frontal something, and then it's still a fucking bird, but it has like a way better memory, better association, and better problem solving skills, like the ability to stop and think. It might have a bit of an ego, like a fucking bird, a fucking crow or a raven or something. And then you look at a dolphin, their visual cortex is massive.
I would actually go and say that it's all ego on that side, right? When you're at that level of thought, all it is the subjective ego. Exactly. It's just survival. It's not able to make those decisions. Yeah. And that's what I think kind of separates human beings, because
overriding it.
It's a choice.
I think so. The universe is constantly evolving, and we are able to view it and participate in it consciously. We're the only ones that we know of. It doesn't necessarily take away from a dolphin. Maybe a dolphin can extrapolate certain ideas.
Maybe it doesn't know it's going to die.
Or it's closer to, it's just, if we see it as a spectrum, like a gradient, it's closer to us than other things.
I treat it more like a tree.
But we're still individual. That's the thing.
There's different types of intelligence, and like it's like mix and match. That's kind of what I'm trying to get at.
Yeah.
You can still work with that model where like seemingly inert matter will come up to what we are, where we can experience ourselves, and then you can go up to like a group of people, and then humans can have this kind of oversoul concept where we are.
Well, that's what Ra says, right? Like Ra says that at a certain point, so you have first density life is just literally rocks. Second density life is a spectrum from single cell organisms all the way to
insects,
cats and dogs, right? But then they start to like at the upper levels, you start to get like you can teach a dog to sort of be self-aware. Anyway, third density is where the self-awareness is fully active, and we now have a choice. Like we now have a choice to embrace the creation or reject the creation, and we can do anything. We can literally do anything. So Ross says that this is the point where consciousness makes a choice. Is it going to serve the self and continue on throughout its next however many incarnations, serving the self, or is it going to go off and serve others and unify? And then the next step. So the third step is this. If we pass that, we get to the fourth step, which is I think it's like a social memory complex, which is where we all kind of get like a mind meld happening, where all of our thoughts, all of our consciousness sort of becomes one. We have access to each other.
My argument is that's happening already.
Yes.
In a very concrete sense. It doesn't have to be some magical, bigger being.
Well,
like
the internet.
Yeah, that's a good example. Like
I think it's happening from both directions. I think so. Exactly, those ideas are esoteric, objective concepts that are constantly passed down. We talk about things like the one in the Matrix and these ideas, which is the positive Messiah. You also have the negative Messiah, 666, which is the opposite direction. And we can create both of those types of experiences and realities through either one. They're just drastically different. Where the direction of the one, the positive direction, it's unification with source. And where you have the 666, the negative direction, it's almost the concept of the Borg. Basically, is where it moves towards, where it's through technology and those types of tools, you create the super mind.
So Ross says that there are actually groups that exist like that.
Yeah.
There's a group. There are actually two groups that have. I mean, this is in the '80s, so I don't know what's going on now. But at the time, there were two groups that have always been, playing with us, basically, like trying to get us to choose
our direction,
one or choose the other. So apparently, free will is a very important thing with all consciousness, and you can't just come in and be like, this is the way it's got to be, because the people will eventually revolt. They'll eventually just need to experience it.
Yeah.
The whole point is
like a universal law.
The law is you need to experience it and you need to choose. So it's like I was saying before, communism is sort of like having a service to others, polarized fourth level society where everyone agrees that service to the collective is the best way. For example, if you have a boulder on the highway blocking all the cars, if you have a service to others society, they will immediately just be like, the best thing to do is just get together, stop what I'm doing because there's a big problem. We're going to come together. We're going to move the rock. Problem solved, right? But in a service to self society, you need to incentivize. It's harder to get things done. You have to, it's like, where's the money going to come from?
I'm on my way to work. I'm not going to pull over.
And that's kind of what they have created a society where they're trying to get us to polarize negatively. And Ross says that there are entities who come here and teach the laws of power, just like there are those who come and teach the law of one. The law of one and the law of power is ultimately leads you to the one at the end of this whole cycle. You eventually just get to unity anyway. But both ways are valid. You can serve the self or you can serve the whole.
The way it sounds like is you kind of bounce off the left-hand path. Like it's a way of doing it, but it's not sustainable. So one way or the other, you end up kind of backtracking and doing the right-hand path. Because that's where you get the endless growth, sort of. But now we're getting really into like reincarnation and spirituality. Like this kind of like there's something driving the meat suit that sustains that like continues after death, and maybe like. Like a river hitting the ocean, like you become the ocean. Like I'm already water.
That's kind of how they describe it. But I mean, it's such an advanced concept that how can we even really say that's for sure or
esoteric knowledge plays on those concepts. All the old stuff, old Gnostic traditions, Luciferian traditions, like all these concepts play on that train of thought. So I personally identify with it as well. I think there is something to that experience. I think that we're more so like I was saying before, a radio receiver where consciousness is coming into this meat suit, and we have these experiences here for a purpose to learn over there. And people think that you can have that easy way out, right? You're suffering here, physical suffering is terrible. They blow their brains out. They don't understand the kind of suffering they're going to entertain in the next existence.
Well, it just means that they chose to skip out on the lesson.
Exactly.
So it's not that the suffering is going to be amplified worse. It's not like there's a punishment. I don't think. It's just I think you just have to do it again. It's like
You haven't learned
until you get it right.
you backed out. You got to go back and do it again.
And it might be worse. You know?
Maybe it's worse next time. Yeah. I don't know.
Or maybe whatever teacher is behind this will be like, okay, we'll start you off on an easier route first, and then
I think you are the teacher.
Yeah.
So Ross says that since time is this sort of like illusory thing, like we live in space time, but the opposite reality exists, time space, where like here space is sort of like I can manipulate the space, I can move things, I can move myself, but I can't move time. But in time space, you can sort of float through time, but you're not really. You're not really a tangible object.
It makes me think of the dream space. Like if you've ever practiced lucid dreaming, it's all intentionality. Like imagine I need to build a wall, space time. You know how that works. You have to sit down. You have to plan it. You have to get the materials. You have to do the blah 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 blah. What if it's flipped on its head? Then just wanting to build the wall will appear.
Well, that's how Ross says they built the pyramids, and I find that hard to believe and hard to conceptualize and hard to explain to someone. But they say that like when Don asks how it was done, they say, well, it started as a thought form. It was a thought that we had, and it has its shape and its size for specific reasons. Like apparently they say it was supposed to be like a float tank, like completely isolated from the outside world, and you're in the I don't know if it's the king's room or the queen's room. There's
the sarcophagus.
King Tut, I think.
There's a chamber, right?
Yeah.
But
Graham Hancock spoke about meditating in there.
Right.
He said he spent one night there. He said it was a mystical experience.
Well,
The
apparently,
resonating chamber, yeah.
Ra explains that like the geometry of the pyramid creates a spiraling energy, and so you need to put yourself at a certain point on that spiral. And I think they put a few different rooms because you can get a few different effects from where you are on the spiral.
We were misinterpreted because it said, well, it was misinterpreted. It said that was actually a tomb, but they never found a body there. It was just this like this rectangular.
It's just
They're basing that entire argument off of some markings that were written in one of the chambers, and that's almost been verified to be one of the what are they called? The archaeologists that had done it at the time.
Yeah.
So it's like just complete forgery.
And that's it. And what I love about Graham Hancock is he talks about that it's more likely that these structures were already there and that the Egyptians just kind of fucking parked in there because it was empty. Yeah. And then they started creating their history in this
Their
structure.
society is old. Like even if you just look at Egyptian history, it's like thousands and thousands of years old.
Yeah.
So like apparently Ra came twice. So if Ra came initially and built these pyramids, and then that information was sort of like distorted and lost and kept for the rich and kept for the kings and
the priest class. Yeah.
Apparently that's what happened, and I think that's what generally keeps happening throughout history.
We keep getting rebooted, So the story is the Atlantis story, where there were those multiple resets, and we know now through archaeology and geology, things like that, we know that there was a Mount Tobo incident in 172,000 years ago. That was one reboot that we had. We had another one at the end of the Younger Dryas where something happened. You have Carlson, Hancock, Robert Schoch, people who had been able to look at what was happening in that time period and just see that the temperature was completely different, during the Younger Dryas versus the...
Well, dude, Ross says that so there's 25,000-year chunks, right? That it's like, I don't know what they call that. There's a bunch of cultures have this sort of time.
There's the precession, the yugas.
Yeah.
Precession
and
of the
I think
equinox.
the fact that a bunch of us all around the world have this same idea of like a 25,000-year chunk of time means that there's something to it, right?
It's a cycle, right? I think there's 4 quadrants to that, or 4 cycles.
Ross says that there are 3 of those per level of density. So actually what's causing our densities to go up is energy, is a vibration, and that is actually being affected by our position in the galaxy as a whole. So as we're moving through space, we're like, basically Ross says like, you have this much amount of time to be in first density, and then by the time you get here, the energy will be too high, you'll be in second density, and so on. And so like, basically there are 3 chunks of 25,000 years in third density. This is just for our realm. I think for the other ones, the times change. So I don't know what the scale
like a Fibonacci thing. Like it goes
I
faster.
guess it's like
maybe.
a Fibonacci thing, yeah. So the next one is like exponentially longer, and the next one is exponentially longer. But I'm wondering like if big events like show up at the breaks between those chunks. You know what I'm saying?
And
like,
that's what McKenna was getting into.
Yeah.
Like there's like a global consciousness rhythm that he was kind of finding.
And Ra also says that the planet heats up as the energy heats up, let's say. And so that might be what we're seeing, like a planet that is just evolving, or a solar system in as a whole that's evolving.
It's a chicken egg thing too, because like something physical and we can see it and go, okay, this is why the Earth is heating up, and that is affecting how we behave as like monkeys, as like human things, and your shorelines change because of water levels, and your behavior changes because you're in heat, and because there's a different type of prosperity and more prosperity in different places and less in other places. Like that directly affects our society.
What do you guys? Do you remember Suspicious Observers?
No.
Yeah.
You don't remember them? Ben Davidson
No.
does space weather news, and he focuses on a lot of weather and science from the perspective of the sun and how the sun affects us.
Oh, maybe I've seen it.
And how the connections we have, all the magnetic connections we have with it, and all that jazz. And one of the things he's talking about is like throughout history, when we go through these upheavals, these conscious types of moments, the sun reacts, the sun flares, the sun does things, and what his theory is that all of this is going to lead to some massive sun flare that's going to be our actual next global reset. That it's going to be connected to the sun and not just what they're showing us. And this kind of ties into an older Armageddon kind of conspiracy where the people who control the world hide the reality that we get reset every now and then from the sun, and they keep us distracted on nonsense right until the last minute, and it's like, oh hey guys, by the way, that's going to go off again, type of thing, you know. So very a lot of different ideas when it comes to that kind of thing.
Well, the word apocalypse means to unveil, right? Isn't that what I think I heard that somewhere?
Not sure.
I'm glad that you brought that up, because we went like not off the rails, but like this raw material stuff is really intense, but it's like,
it's very esoteric.
Yeah, but it's like, why is this important? Why is this maybe being hidden from us? Like that's what you're kind of poking
That's
at.
kind of what I think we're all trying to aim at here, is that like there is a system of service to self on this planet that is basically attempting to consolidate power and get everyone to believe that it's the right way to go.
Yeah. And if you follow the money, you can kind of see some of those hidden hands, who's at play.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, there's certain points where you can't really see further. Let's say on the financial side, you can get to the tops of the Larry Finks, the Black Rocks, those kind of large organizations. Behind them, you don't really know what's going on. I have my theories. So right now, you always have that Zionist angle, where I think behind the Zionism is the cult of Saturn, or the Brotherhood of Saturn and all that stuff. And another thing I want to kind of get into, because I find it's an easy way to get dismissed, is even bringing up the concept of Zionism. And I think it's important that we break it down kind of the way we break down the Vatican and Catholicism, where immediately if you say Zionism, you're labeled anti-Semitic, and you're kind of rejected at that point. Wouldn't it be as equally insane to associate all of the Vatican's bad doings with all of Christianity? It's absurd.
With the teachings of Christ. Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
It's absurd logic. It's the same thing with Zionism. There are some people.
It's just it's an emotionally charged subject, but that blinds you from.
But it's almost like it's emotionally charged on purpose.
Right. But who would say that if there are some bad Zionists that are doing these things, does that equate all Jewish people? No, that's absurd. It's completely insane as a train of thought to even put out something like that.
But that's where it's labeled as right away.
Exactly, just to dismiss it. You can't talk about those people who unfortunately seem to be using that as a scapegoat, as a get a jail free card,
shield almost,
as a shield, exactly. And when you get to these larger sources, they all have the same type of symbolism. They revolve around a black cube for some reason. The black cube is very central to it. Black water, black rock, black cube.
I didn't know that black water and black cube and black rock were all associated.
They're all associated. They're all either ex-Israeli assets, Mossad assets, FBI assets.
Because I've heard of black water. Like that was sort of the first thing I don't know how many years ago, but you had heard about that in like the circles of people who were into conspiracy stuff, like the military-industrial complex.
Private industry.
If you don't know, Blackwater is essentially a mercenary group, like private mercenaries, like the baddest that there are, who get paid more money than the government pays.
And they answer to no one. They drive around in their Humvees. They run over people. Haha. Let's keep going, guys. We don't answer to anyone.
If you were a Navy SEAL, like if you were Jocko, let's say, and you got offered like literally like 10 times the money to do a contract with Blackwater than you were getting with the SEALs, a lot of people just flip. A lot of people just go, hey, fuck, I'm not going to take...
Most people will take the monetary incentive. That's the system we've created. And at the same time, that's what helps keep this house of cards going.
That's what keeps it going.
Let's say if we get into that mask debate a little bit, right? There's two types of people who are wearing the mask, in my opinion. people who are scared and people who have a gun to their head because they're going to lose their job if they don't wear a mask. And most people are going to do it because they need to eat.
And the gun's getting closer.
And it's getting closer and closer. You have no choice. You don't like it? Take a walk. And most people are like, well, I guess I'm going to put on a mask, you know?
No shoes, no shirt, no mask, no service.
And that's
coming this month.
Yeah.
To Montreal.
Have fun.
We're going to see how that works.
I mean, it's cool that you're already seeing protests. And listen, I'm if you want to wear a mask, I think you should be free to wear a mask.
Do what you got to do.
Yeah. If you feel like you're immunocompromised, if you have a family member that's in a vulnerable place, for sure, protect yourself. But I'm always reluctant when I start to see these new rules come up where it's like where
it's forced.
You can be fined, you can be tackled by a police officer for not wearing a mask.
It's emotionally charged information.
Yeah,
it's not.
It is,
but it's not real. Yeah, it's like your
and that's why I'm hesitant.
Your kid with asthma or your grandparent is gonna die, and it's like, bruh, like we're all gonna die. It's scary, but like it's just an addenda. Like the fact that we look into this and we're seeing the science and the numbers and it's there's something wrong. I'm not running to wear a mask and like expose myself to my own CO2 for like 16 hours of a waking life, you know? Like it's not horrible for your health in chunks, but if you're wearing it all day and like people wearing gloves, that's not how gloves work. We were bitching about it on the way here.
Gloves are actually worse, which is hilarious.
Yeah, like when professionals wear gloves, they do something and then they take them off and throw them out and take other gloves. Yeah. And people are just walking around all day with the same gloves.
And then they scratch their face.
Yeah, what the fuck are you doing? Like this is theater.
Extra skin.
This is security theater.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
Some guy fucking made a shoe bomb and we all got to take our shoes off now because people are scared. That's just how we work. So for someone like me, but then you see how that gets co-opted and we get taken advantage of. It makes my fucking
that ties
back
into
up.
our conversation about free will. Is that you can't actually change someone's free will. It's like a universal law, but create enough fear that we're compliant with the new set of rules that they're putting forth, because
false bifurcation.
It's kind of like it tricked us into believing that this is the rules that we need.
Yes.
You know? And the thing about it, I saw a great post on Facebook. I'm going to share it if I find it again. But it was a guy who it was like in conversation form about why masks should be. The title was "Why You Need to Wear a Mask," but it was actually the opposite, which was funny.
Okay.
And it was talking about asymptomatic, how they're saying now that if you're asymptomatic, it's not really transferable. So then, and then the guy's like, yeah, but just wear a mask anyway.
Just a little thing. Like, if you remember, the WHO was tweeting out. And
they're ridiculous.
It's insane. But they were tweeting out in January 14th. They tweeted, "There's no evidence that it's transmissible person to person."
Asymptomatic has never been a thing. It's just all of a sudden now is a thing. Yeah. There's never been any disease that you can transfer without symptoms.
That's it. So the thing is that, okay, it was a conversation. So the guy's like, so asymptomatic people aren't contagious. And then the guy's like, yeah, I know, but just wear a mask anyway. He's like, what do the masks do? The masks stop the transmission of the virus. How does it stop the transmission of the virus? Through droplets. How do you get droplets? You have to sneeze or cough. But I'm not coughing, so I'm not, by theory, I'm not transferring the virus.
No.
And then the conversation's like, yeah, just wear a mask anyway.
And if I'm not sick, I have no virus to transmit.
That's it. And it was just breaking it down into a logical conversation. And it's exactly that. If you have no symptoms and the virus transfers through droplets, if you're not emitting droplets, it's not transferring. There's nothing to transfer.
Straight up.
So then,
and even then, there's still debate on whether the transfer even occurs.
Yeah.
And at what degree of sickness does the transfer occur? There's still debate on
that. The experts are debating, and we're here freaking out about surfaces, and that's not how viruses work.
At all.
I'm not freaking out.
Like,
you know? I'm touched this table, and now I'm sick with COVID. It's not how it works. No. And for it to live here, it requires the perfect case, perfect scenario. You know, and I think a smidge of UV light destroys the fucking...
It would never multiply. It's not alive, right? It's not the same thing as bacteria. Bacteria is a whole nother ballpark. And what they're trying to do is almost merge the two concepts and say, well, hey, we know you understood these two things as being different, but now they're the same. So just believe all the symptoms we're telling you and the functions, regardless of what your previous knowledge is, just throw it out the water.
Keep in mind wording, because they were saying it lives on surfaces for up to X amount of time. A virus is not alive.
Exactly.
Okay, and then the wording is so easy to get fucking spun around in.
It's either assembled or it's not. It's either there. It's either it's
and virus doesn't multiply the same way bacteria does. It doesn't spread that way. It's
craziness, and the fact that they're pumping out this fear. You have to look at what the agenda is, and you have to look at the money.
That's what I'm not sure is what's the next step. After masks, is it vaccines? Is it just something else?
I think that's going to be the prerequisite to taking off the mask. I think that's how they're going to try and sell it to people. Okay. And is the COVID ID immunity passport and all that shenanigans.
Well, that's it. So you won't be you're not going to be able to travel without a vaccine. I think that's where it's going to be leading.
They're already doing it in other parts of the world. Like you need to have a smartphone, It needs to have certain things enabled. And then like this person, like someone can't take a fucking taxi unless they like scan a barcode and like it lets
That's
you
what
know.
China does, right?
Yeah, you have your social credit score over there and everything.
That's
It's
craziness.
They're full of
Okay,
Black
then
Mirror.
how do we
like,
stop that from happening?
But that's going all the way back to the internet. I think the internet
Revolution.
did more damage than good for that side of the control systems, because there's
Yes.
so many communities and conversations happening. It may not be as public
They're
as the
trying to
main.
mitigate too. I think.
Yeah.
I think all the censorship that you see on Facebook, specific and on fucking YouTube, specifically about COVID. I find could see the logic. Or it's like, yeah, health is important. Like this is a current affair. Like we need to address it right now. Like kind of like a Band-Aid. But the stuff that they're censoring is not that bad. It's not like, you know what I mean?
They want to stifle the debate. They don't want to have the anti-vax, anti-COVID, anti-mask conversation. They've never have, because it's detrimental to pharma and their profits.
Have
That's
you seen
all
the
that matters.
video of the
play.
Plandemic?
Yep.
Like that got fucking censored and taken off every platform.
Yeah.
And if you watched it with an unbiased opinion, just watch it objectively, there's nothing in that video that was bad. It was actually a well-informed opinion.
They attacked the author. They said she has a history of being
an anti-vaxxer or something.
yeah. Well, she lost a job because of her stance on
Yeah.
vaccines. Basically,
But the video
That just
itself
validates
was
the video, in my
Yeah.
opinion.
Yeah.
You know? It's like, that's what
I
she's
mean,
saying, you know?
well, that's the thing is, if you're an anti-vaxxer, then of course it fucking validates you. And if you're someone who sees the word anti-vaxxer and goes, these people are
It's the
ridiculous.
same thing as the debunked label.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
throw that out there, and now you have this whole stream of thoughts that are
Yeah.
attached to that word, and it's
And you
so
go, oh,
easy.
he's an anti-vaxxer. Okay,
Go to the
next.
next.
You know,
Yeah.
it's
I
We
wanted
need-
to bring it up earlier. Just again, side note. I'm side note guy this episode. Just filling in some gaps. Like it's a shroud. It's a blanket statement. You know, a lot of professional people who are like, yes, vaccines as a thought, as a tool, are very good.
Yes.
They do things that we need.
Nuance
Yeah,
is important.
That's it. But anti-vax, it's like, oh, some of these vaccines have hurt people, damaged
Yeah.
people, killed people, did not do what
Which
they were supposed to do.
vaccine, you know?
Yeah, there's no nuance. It's like you're anti-vax. Like,
Is
okay,
it an RNA vaccine? Is it a new tech vaccine?
Exactly.
Is it a standard safe? Like, I mean, I don't know how safe these are. I'm not up. Like, I don't know. I've read both sides, and I don't know because I don't really trust anybody.
Well, do you know? I'm sure you might have seen him at this point. His name is Newt Wachowski, something along those lines.
Perhaps.
He's
Newts.
Newts, but you can pronounce it nuts if you want. I think at the end of the day, he's a high virologist for the Rockefeller Foundation for about 20 years. He gives his perspective on a lot of it, and it comes off much less biased than some of the pharma-oriented ones, where he gives you that nuance around vaccines, where he explains, he goes, there's good vaccines and there's bad vaccines. He goes, the vaccines that are applied towards diseases that do not mutate are fantastic. They cure it. They
work.
Polio, because polio doesn't change. So now we were able to eradicate things.
Yeah.
He goes, when you have the flu vaccine, he goes,
It's a guess.
You have a
Yeah.
20-30% efficacy. If you're lucky.
They're rolling the dice.
know,
They're just
Well,
they're injecting you with-
that's almost like where I feel like where someone's playing mind games with the word vaccine.
Exactly. That's the
It's like
profit
saying
model.
jujitsu. Like jujitsu works, but this kind of jujitsu doesn't work at all. So don't call it jujitsu. Call it something else.
Yeah. Rogan talks about this a lot, and it is a very key point too, is that this whole fear about this virus is so prominent, but there has been zero reporting about anything to do with nutrition, health, and fitness.
Yeah.
and
Vitamin D,
vitamins.
sunlight
Yeah,
exposure.
and I find that is disgusting that's accepted, and that fact that people aren't really outraged about this, because you hear it all the time that we have to wash our hands, stay in a closed place, just listen to government, whatever. But there's not one thing. No nutritionist on TV, on the mainstream news, is talking about this. So you have to also wonder what they're
Sleep,
really,
you know,
yeah,
like-
sleep quality, reducing stress, meditate. Why is this not even in the discussion?
Because they don't want you to be able to take
That's-
care of
you
yourself.
have
They
to-
want
and
you to
have to-
be.
and
honestly, like,
You have to come to that
customer.
conclusion. You have to come to that conclusion, because that is we've evolved with viruses up until now.
Yeah.
We're meant to overcome viruses. We're not meant to just hide from them.
people are gonna die. It's scary, but it's like
But people are gonna
you can
die
go to the beach and
regardless.
and it's amazing for your immune system. But
Yeah.
they're like, no, social distancing, and it's like, wait a second,
Yes.
social distancing itself is not good for
it
your immune
weakens your
system.
immune system.
We didn't evolve with social distancing.
Fear.
We evolved through
It's not
getting
good for
sick,
you.
beating it, creating
Yeah.
immunity. And the fact that there's no talk about strengthening immunity. It's mind blowing, and you have to look at that. And that question comes to you: is that they want you to fucking?
Well, who's to say that like the combination of the fear plus the staying inside plus the
that's already hurting
all
your
that
immune
shit
system.
is not causing or at least opening up the door to any kind of infection.
100%.
Bruce Lipton, bro, must be
100%.
going crazy.
Yeah.
Jack Cruz.
100%.
Yeah, they're just like, dude, it's all placebo and nocebo.
There-
All of it.
Yeah.
There's a term, I forgot what it was called, but it's when you start seeing these symptoms on TV, like hearing these symptoms, and you get-
Mass hysteria.
You start
Or
feeling
nocebo.
you
Nocebo is
you
the-
start getting sick. And, fuck, I have
Yeah.
COVID, and then whatever you stay
I
home.
felt that. I had a scratch in my. I had like a drip, like a scratch in my throat.
Yeah,
and
man.
I was like, I fucking got the COVID. I'm getting sick. I don't know. I was telling people, I was like, I'm not sure if I should
Everyone
come
I
over.
talk to,
Yeah.
everyone I talk to, they're like, oh yeah, I think I got it back in January, February, or March.
A lot of people said that.
I've heard that everywhere. Even I'm saying it because I had a moment for like a week. I just had shivers.
What if it's completely made up? Like
That's what I
if
genuinely
the
believe it is,
tests-
man. I genuinely believe Erin, the undercover nurse. And again, if you guys haven't seen it, watch it. It is one of those heart wrenching videos because you see the reality of things. And she was explaining that most of the people coming in, they're short of breath. Why? Because they're anxious. Because they're being bombarded with this stuff on TV, and they think they're gonna die. And when they come into there, they're convinced to go onto these ventilators.
The
And
ventilators
people
kill you, man.
Yeah, people don't understand how it actually works. People think, oh, you just have a tube in there. No. You're on an artificial coma.
You are so sedated.
induced.
You're telling your body to shut off all its systems
Yeah.
of protection
Yeah.
and
And-
trust the machine.
Yeah, and they keep you on these drips. And so what she was saying is that after 30 days, the reason people don't survive this is because you're brain dead from that amount of
Fucking sedation, right?
and
Yeah.
chemicals that they're giving you. They're keeping you on anesthetics basically for 30 days or more. You're
That's a death sentence.
It is, and that's what she's
That
saying.
in itself is a death sentence.
So they're taking guys who are our age, 30 something years old, and they're convincing them that the only way you're going to survive this is if you go on a vent. And she's like, if you go on that vent, you're not walking out of here. There's been one report in her entire hospital of Elmhurst of a guy who
Woke up
and took it out. The guy used to be a drug addict. So he was like a heroin addict,
Yeah.
and he wasn't
sedate
getting
me.
the shit wasn't strong enough, and he just woke up in it and he pulled it out. He's the only person to survive this, man.
Like Neo. Like when he wakes up and he pulls the tube out.
Yeah.
There's something
Looks
so
around, he just
symbolic
sees the
about
pod.
that.
We got to find that guy.
You know,
bring him on the podcast.
That's it.
I don't go as far as saying as the virus is a hoax or whatever. I still think
Yeah.
it legit does exist. I think it's way blown out of proportion.
Definitely.
Like it could be like a flu.
Yeah,
It's literally a
Well,
coronavirus.
it's a coronavirus,
yeah.
and it does oddly affect certain people differently based off of their blood type, if they have autoimmune
It's
diseases.
gonna sound like I'm peeing.
But I was speaking to a friend. She's a molecular infection. She's studying infectious diseases and all that stuff. She does a lot of research in the lab, and she's saying it's highly likely that this virus is lab created. And she's not a bullshit source. This is her field. She's in her 30s. She's been studying this for 10 plus years, and her career is studying viruses. Yeah. And she was saying that it just doesn't make sense that how fast it transfers from animal to human without these little moments in history where you see the progression. It's just like boom, animal, boom, human, vastly deadly. And she's saying it's very suspicious. And there's a lot of biologists that are coming out and saying this, and they're unfortunately they're
being dismissed a lot.
Discredited, dismissed. But there was another one. Brett Weinstein he had a fucking fantastic point on the Rogan podcast that the virus seems to die immediately within seconds in sunlight, direct sunlight. So
Is that any virus though? I think is not how that works. Like
In
just,
theory,
just
I think
the
like
UV light
UV
breaks
can
down
get-
the fat around.
But this one's like
Yeah.
specifically weak, like
Okay.
80-degree
It's specific-
temperature. It's
exactly.
nothing.
meaning it lived in a lab. It never had to
and
be
it
outside.
passes strong and fast during the night.
Yeah,
So without
it's a
UV.
vampire virus.
So that would simulate an actual environment of a laboratory where it doesn't get sunlight, but it's thriving in a darker environment. Therefore, it spreads in a darker environment. So it's very interesting that you see that. And that's it's like you have to follow the money is one thing, but follow the
dude,
virus and how it works.
But also the
And another
analogy
piece-
of light and dark. Like if you listen to that all that Law of One stuff, Ra talks about light in a way that we can't really understand. Like light is everything. Light, love is almost like intelligent infinity. It's the power that drives, as far as I understand.
light.
So the fact that the virus can't live in the light
demons.
is such a such a crazy analogy for what's
Yeah.
going on, or what's really going on.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like not so.
Or the
hidden
light,
symbolic.
or the light is, our sunlight really is love. You know what I'm saying?
It isn't. I mean, if you get all metaphysical,
Like the sun loves us and
gravity
we're getting
light,
love.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Well,
that's what you need to create life as we know it.
in Tesla's model, there's no space doesn't actually exist. It's just negative space. It's the consequence of the positive reality of light, basically, and how light functions. So it's a very I wish we had a lot of that stuff that
This
he
gets
had
so crazy.
he had gotten into that was just repurposed by the U.S. and they've hidden it away. And there's some stuff that you can still get to that Tesla's playing with, but I'm sure there's treasure troves that we'll never see. That will never see the light
maybe
today.
one day.
To what you said, again, randomly side note, like there's this hologram theory about how space is fake and we're all just experiencing like a brain of reality, like a membrane of
That's
information.
probably it, yeah.
And it's just collapsing into our consciousness, like when you consolidate your memories when you wake up from a dream.
Yeah.
And light, like you were saying, it doesn't experience space because it does the no time thing. I forgot words.
It sets the rules for the space. Like it
breaks the rules.
As far as we can observe it, it is an untouchable thing. Like the
it's-
speed of light is an untouchable thing.
Relativity is very confusing, and the speed of light is not even exactly a constant. They just use it as a constant because it's close enough.
Tesla doesn't like relativity and space time and stuff. He's like, no, it's a whole other game. It's not that. He's wrong. Einstein's retarded. Like that's literally what he thinks.
I don't know enough, but I can picture how time is experienced from the perspective of a photon, and it's like created in the core of a sun, and then like Earth is here. Like for us, it takes 8 minutes.
Yeah.
But for it's instant. Its lifespan is a moment.
It's like electricity. It's like
Just there's no resistance. It's just just whomp energy, and literally like wherever it's going, it's there already.
It's experienced everything.
and
like
Because
that.
it's going the
Yeah.
fucking speed limit of
Yeah.
the universe.
It's almost like light is the thing that we can observe that breaks the rule, like that can't like stops time, or it transcends time, and we can see it do that. I don't know.
It's
Try-
fucked. It's fucked in there.
time may not actually exist outside of our individual experiences, right? So we're
I
in
think that's it.
we're in a solar system. We experience this form of time. Another solar system could be completely different. Outside of this reality, there could be no time. It could just be constant. It's just you are in the constant now of pure existence.
Even physicists will tell you like time moving backwards doesn't break physics at all. So like that could totally be a thing in pockets of the universe or other universes or whatever. It gets very fun.
Well, as soon as you even take a psychedelic drug like DMT or ayahuasca or mushrooms, or even an intense meditation practice, you leave the bounds of time, and your perception is complete. You're just not bound by it.
Yeah.
And what would feel like a minute in that realm is actually hours in this realm.
I mean, I think the first time I took a shitload of LSD, the time felt like it was, and I guess anyone who's heard me describe this, I'm going to sound like I'm saying the same thing over and over again, but it's like being in a room. Have you ever gone to the bathroom at like a party and there's a wall, there's a mirror on each wall, and if you look down, you see yourself a million times, and if you look down the left, you see yourself a million times. That's what it felt like in terms of how I was perceiving time. Like it felt like
You're clipping into instances.
1,000 years ago was the same as right now, and 1,000 years from now is the same as right now.
It's all mapped out right in front of you.
It was almost as if I could see it all laid out. Yeah.
I've had that on ayahuasca where I saw my timeline literally just splayed out like an accordion, and I was just jumping into moments. Funny enough, I was only going into the past, but I'm sure maybe if I'm going again on Friday, maybe I can see if I can jump into the future a little bit.
Yeah, I didn't have that.
But time was just in front of me. I was not even bound by it, and I wasn't even myself. I was just observing.
But it's more zoomed out, like if you take salvia or LSD, I'm not super familiar with LSD, but we were talking about salvia earlier. There's this chopping effect, and you feel like you're popping through like the grate of your moment, and there's stuff behind life, sort of, and it's like running life, or it's like other entities or consciousness or constructs, like you want to talk about raw, like you feel like you're next to the train and it's passing and it's going fast, but it's here. So it's like moment, and you're like whereas with ayahuasca maybe you're further away from the train, so you kind of get to see this like slow moving snake on the ground instead of this like intimidating like wind machine thing in front of you, and you're like I feel like my heart beat a lot, like the physical feeling of salvia. Yeah. Your body, like there's this weird body awareness before you kind of get like knocked into whatever other reality, and I can feel like my heart like hitting my whole body, and I can kind of like in rhythm to the breathing. There's this kind of like choppiness, and it's very physical, but it gets interpreted into this visual thing, and it's like you literally see like this extra dimension where like time is clicking, like time is moving, but you were over there, but now you're in the new moment, so it's very disorienting. But the whole moment is like clack into the next one, clack into the next one, and you're like, what is happening right now? Like I'm trying to explain it, but like what the fuck am I talking?
The way I describe salvia is that you guys Harry Potter fans at all? Sure. You've seen the movies where they grab that boot and they just fucking wormhole fly to another destination. And I don't know what it's called, but apparently in the books it was way more graphic than what they put in the film. It was like if you do it wrong, you can rip an arm off or something.
Yeah, something like that.
That's what I find salvia is like. It's just like you're just getting blown into a different fucking wherever, but it's so aggressive on the body because you're kind of like half in, half out.
Yeah.
It shakes you out of your body is what I would.
Yeah, it's hard. It's
not
hard
a
to keep
clean
the coherency
transition.
to it. Yeah,
it's not a clean transition. It's like it's just ripping you out of your body, and you're still holding on.
I think maybe also because it's a quick experience, unlike something like mushrooms or ayahuasca, which is 6-8 hour long trip.
There's not enough time to dissolve the ego. It's just kind of like whoop.
Yeah,
that's why heroic dose, but like salvia, it's different. You just go big or go home kind of thing, and then you're. I mean, one way or the other, you're like, if you have like a good trip or whatever, like you're gone. Yeah. You know, like your memories, like I don't want to get into my trip. I'm sure I've talked about it on the podcast already, but like you're in another life, another dimension, maybe another modality, another memory complex. Like you're not you anymore. That's amazing. And then you come back and you laugh hysterically. Because you realize it's all bullshit.
Yeah.
I smoked a plant and I was another guy in another plane of existence. And then I came back and like both of them are dreaming each other. Both of them are like, I'm not sure that guy's real.
The fact that there's this like illusory continuity that we experience makes life so mundane. But it's actually fucking magic that I am able to have these thoughts and I'm able to have conversations about those thoughts with another thing that has the same kinds of thoughts that I have.
That may be you.
That may be me. On the deepest of levels, we are all each other, perhaps.
Well,
we are.
We're all interconnected.
No solipsism at this table.
Yeah.
We are. Even if we are a brain in a vat, in the end, what I do to you affects me.
It's the same network.
Yeah.
You know, it's maybe individual at the physical appearance, but it's the same fucking network.
And we're really not at a physical, if you think about quantum entanglement, or if honestly just the Big Bang, or even just Earth, like we're literally all from the same thing, and like we got up and sprouted legs, and
we're made of rocks and shit.
We just created, but the ego's what created the ego's what created those division lines that we can separate the two, but it's just an illusion, like you were saying.
But it's almost the point of this existence. If you buy into that, to what Ra's saying, the point of this existence is to experience other self to choose love or choose
I do, and
something.
I'll tell you why.
I love it.
I do buy into that, and I'll tell you why. If you look at the chakra system, the third one, the first three are the first three densities essentially, and the third one is kind of represents or harbors ego.
Oh, and that's interesting.
Yeah. It's like
lines up. It's the same in the music world.
And Ra uses octaves as well to describe its planes of reality. It talks about the 7 octaves and everything.
There's like in a scale you have 7 notes, so you're like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then the 8 is the 1. So you're like 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And it goes on forever, right? But what's interesting about that is I just sang a major scale, so I assumed the third had selected its positive orientation, and then if the third is the most important note in a musical scale because it determines what you call that scale. So if I take C, this is like all the white keys. I take C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, right? That's a C major scale. And I change the third to E. Instead of E, I make it E flat. The rest of the scale looks just like a major scale, right? But what do we call that? I have a degree in this, and I fucking it's not natural minor, but it's a mode where you have you basically have a natural 6th and 7th and a flat 3. But because the 3 is flat, it's a kind of minor. We call it a kind of minor, right? So if you flatten the 6th and you flatten the 7th, that's natural minor, that's pure minor. There's kind of variations where the 6 is not flat or the 7 is not flat. But if the 3, whatever the 3 does, that's what we call the whole scale. And that's what Ross says too, is that your third density is where you choose, are you going to polarize to be major, positive, or polarize to be minor?
And it's cool because it affects the first two and even though the last two don't
changes the whole
flavor, the whole sound, literally, like the feel.
Yeah.
The whole feel changes.
It's sad or happy. And it's interesting that the music that we have reflects that, where a major third makes you feel happy and a minor third makes you feel sad. It's so crazy.
Across
But
the
what did
board.
Tesla say? If you know 3, 6, and 9, you'll understand the universe.
Yep.
You know?
Yeah, pretty much. And that's 369 is another
666.
666 is an application of that. It can be broken down in gematria and stuff like that. And it also has to do with the 5-sided star, which is a representation of human beings. You know, we are the 5-sided star. It's
Actually, Google.
connected.
You showed me Google like is 666, like the symbol
Oh
of
yeah,
Chrome.
Chrome.
And the
Adrenochrome. That brings us
Adrenochrome.
to our favorite subject.
We got to get into this
Pizzagate.
because I saw a great meme.
Let's
and it
crack
said
open that can of worms.
symbolism will be their downfall, and they have it everywhere.
Oh, let me. Side note.
And I got a side note after your side note, so go for it.
You want to keep? You're gonna hold it?
Yeah, I'll hold it.
Okay, so the reason why they need to reveal everything they're doing is because it gets put into our zeitgeist and then it's comestible. It's
spell.
acceptable.
Yeah,
if
it's
we
a
see
spell.
a
That's
bunch
like
of shit,
Free will, right? Like you
But
need
that's
to
it.
choose. You need to accept.
you're
But they
exposed to it in repetition. That's brainwashing, and then the spirit knows.
Yes.
And it's like, oh yeah, I saw that in a movie. So the fuck what? It's what's happening now. You're not going to dismiss it just because it was some fucking Hollywood
Well, the
thing.
CIA said they admit to be.
That's where I got
having their hands in Hollywood and
Yeah,
in
man.
the news.
Just look at their studies too with the LSD and the mind control studies that they've practiced and worked on and
Admitted
did.
to doing.
Yeah.
Torturing people.
Yeah, they've been doing this.
They had
You
done
know?
that in an entire town in France where they were playing with argot, which is a derivative. It's how you get LSD, basically. They put it into the water supply. They got the entire town stoned out
go.
of their minds just to see what was going to happen.
There you go. The answers are in plain sight, guys.
Amazing.
Side note, the one I wanted to say, it's not even relevant, but I just want to say my salvia trip, because we're talking about experiencing different lives. I've done salvia maybe 100 times by now, but one trip that really blew.
Champion.
I had such a batch. I used to just have fun with it, and
Sure.
one trip that I think it changed my whole perspective on what consciousness is and what life is and what individuality is that when I smoked it, when I took the big hit, I just woke up in a fucking classroom. This is my experience. I woke up in a classroom looking out the window, scratching my head. And I was young. I was very young. I had a pen in my mouth. I was scratching my head, just looking out into the field. And out of nowhere, the teacher's like, hey, it's time to pay attention. Come look. And I looked back, and then I came back into my body.
Whoa, that's cool.
And when that happened, that was the only experience. And I'm like, wait, who the fuck was that kid?
So that wasn't even like a past memory of yourself or anything?
No.
Wow.
Well, maybe I'm trying to convince myself that it was, but it wasn't.
Or it's a message, like I feel like these.
Or maybe you're just experiencing so many lives at once, or all lives at once, and you're in tune in this one right now.
That's very possible.
I always loved Bill Hicks's breakdown. The larger point he makes, where he's like, we are all infinite awareness experiencing itself on an infinite scale subjectively.
Yeah,
forever.
That's beautiful.
You know,
and that's what that was.
We're all islands, and there's a big old ocean, and there's a tectonic plate.
But that being said,
there
there is a 3D world that we live in, and there are games being played, real games that appear to, at least in terms of our birth and our death and what we have to deal with. There's some games being played right now.
I really liked your usage of the word spell, because I think that's the true idea of the magician and the person who understands it. It's a language spell, and that's how we're manipulated, is through language. There's mysticism, but I think the vast majority of it relies on language and the
power of words.
The power of words and how
it's the ultimate box, like you were talking about at the beginning.
Box.
This is the ultimate context.
This is a controversial subject, but what is everyone chanting in these protests? I can't breathe.
Yep.
And they're chanting that, but what is this virus really targeting? The respiratory system. So it's a lot deeper than what we think.
It's happening all at the same time.
Zeitgeist is a fucking crazy thing to get into.
Everyone's chanting that.
Collective spirit and how it's like tugging on itself. It's like a body. It's a tensegrity. It's a singular thing, and yet, I can prick my finger and get an infection, and it affects my brain, and like it's...
Belief is the most powerful thing there is.
That's it.
I'd read a study, and this is the study that just blew my mind when it came to the concept of placebo. They took two control groups. One of them, they performed a knee surgery on. The other group, they made them think they performed a knee surgery on them, and they repaired it. They healed at the same rate.
I read about
That's
that.
mind-boggling.
Medicine is really only helping the body heal itself.
It's giving a little push.
real
Yeah.
medicine.
I have a lot of doctors
Hopefully.
in my family, so I'm hoping I'm not saying something stupid. But basically, you put the body, like you're not gonna like the COVID is not gonna be cured by them going in and pulling out every virus cell. Like they're enabling your body to fight it off.
Yeah.
And healing really only takes this. I think this applies to almost any kind of injury or any kind of like you have a part of yourself that's not whole that needs to be made whole. Nothing's going to do that but your own body.
Yep, that's it.
You break your leg, they give you a splint. That's
So
about
that-
it. So you can do what you got to do properly.
Yes.
You, as a massage therapist, I tell my clients now, like, I'm not fixing anything. I'm just allowing your body to have the clear path to self-heal. You know, it's just, I'll try to help out. I'll remove as much as I can and release as much as I can, but it's your body doing its work.
Doing what it should be doing. Taking out all the blocks, taking out all the barriers.
That's as much as I can do, you know? That being said, symbolism.
Symbolism.
Facebook logo is also a Freemason logo. Okay, I started going deep down the Pizzagate rabbit
Logos
hole.
everywhere too, man.
The F it's almost identical. You know, Google Chrome, the G adrenochrome, but the G is a
Adrenochrome.
6. You know,
Well, they like for those of you who don't know, Google has they purchased a Radeon processor, I think, called and they called it Adreno, and they named their browser Chrome. And if you don't know what adrenochrome is, this seems like a random, nonsensical thing. But if you know what adrenochrome is, it gets really creepy as to why would Google be naming their stuff after adrenochrome.
Can you
Let's tell everyone.
expand on that? Because I'm just gonna
Okay,
yeah like, I can
adrenochrome.
rant
I'm
about it.
I'm sure Nate is like really armed up to his teeth.
I've been staying up every night.
But adrenochrome is basically the oxidized form of adrenaline.
Mm-hmm.
So when you are terrified, you oxidize adrenaline, and then what's left over in your blood is adrenochrome. And depending on how much, I guess to what degree you oxidize it, like there's like completely overused adrenochrome, and then there's like kind of like sort of partially used adrenochrome. And I think basically adrenochrome is like a psychedelic. If you take someone else's adrenochrome, you get the same kind of like psychedelic effects as like LSD or something.
Yeah.
I've never tried it, obviously. I don't intend to try it.
This is why Hillary Clinton eats babies.
This is why
That's
allegedly.
scare-
So that's it. And also,
Allegedly.
adrenochrome apparently has like these anti-aging properties, and that it's just fucking so good for your body. That's from what I read. But
Ultimate service itself.
yes, and
Right?
there was actual. If this sounds crazy to you, that we'll get into who's eating or drinking this fucking adrenochrome. But there's actual clinics in the U.S. that were selling young blood. They got shut down by the FDA, but these were real clinics selling younger blood.
Where I first heard of the concept of adrenochrome was from Fear and Loathing in Las
Yeah.
Vegas.
Yeah,
You know,
dude.
that's where I first
That
heard
scene
about it.
is creepy because he drips it into his mouth like a snake. He's like,
But then he just chugs the whole bottle and sees like a demon, like his friend,
Yeah.
like what's his name, Del Toro, just
Yeah,
becomes
Benicio.
like a.
The snake symbolism. I don't know.
There's so much symbolism
threw
around
me off.
masonry, Saturn specifically. When you start looking down that rabbit hole, the cult of Saturn, the either black cube symbolism or just Saturn itself.
Right? Black hats at graduations.
That's okay.
These
What-
are
Is a black
all
square.
these are all spells and rituals that are praising Saturn. I looked into this a while back. I'm very rusty with it, but it was black cloaks, black square.
Yep.
That's a cube on the
yeah,
hat.
the graduation is true.
You know, Saturn Day, the Sabbath. It's like there's so many layers to this word and the meaning behind it.
Yeah, in Islam you have the black stone in
yeah.
Mecca. In Judaism, with
Saturn,
the
do you
rabbis,
think?
the Orthodox with the cube on top. It's
Yeah.
there's
Exactly,
something
yes.
towards that. There's something towards this black cube.
If you think it's
symbolism.
just a fucking
good
coincidence, you're vastly mistaken. You should really look into it. I need to refresh my memory on all this stuff.
That's what people don't realize. Like our calendar was made, our language was made,
Yeah.
our religions were made. Like a lot of this was born out of necessity, but then whittled and refined by assholes.
Or it's
by
like
people
it's
in
like
power.
it's like every society needs these kinds of structures, so we're gonna give you some that do what we want them to do, as
That's
opposed
it.
to
You
do what,
hijack it.
And when the collective has that in their mind, in their ritual practices, you are giving energy to that fucking
We're just all agreeing
yeah
that this is
compliance.
Yeah, but there's a disharmony because the system's not working.
Well, that's the idea also of kind of like manipulating prayer and then manipulating our energy towards a negative source and repurposing the terminology. Where I've heard the different speculation so in the Gnostic concept, Yahweh is the bad entity, and we're being tricked kind of into giving force to that force or that entity. that could apply towards the concept of Satanism as well, right? So like the idea of manipulating people's perceptions to channel prayer or just human energy, psychic power, whatever you want to describe it as, towards a negative entropic force
outcome. Yeah.
And I find fascinating is the concept of Satanism applying towards Saturn, applying towards all these super old sects and secret societies that have been around for the cult of the Brotherhood of Saturn is at least as old as Egypt, if not older than that. There's records of that thing being around for a long time. So these are probably the roots of the power structures that have been holding us forever.
This has probably been around since we started to write shit down. Like this is,
maybe since the last reboot. Maybe
since the last reboot.
The priest class that held on to
But
things.
you have like myths about like vampires and stuff, and then when you learn about adrenochrome, you're like, maybe the people who were the townsfolk were afraid of the vampires. It's really just the elite who were just stealing kids and drinking their blood.
Yeah,
I think there's an aspect of psychic vampirism as well.
Yeah. Interestingly enough, actually, there's a point in the raw material where Ra is saying that there's a negative entity that's sort of harassing them as they're trying to achieve this channel, and Ra advises them to cut up garlic and hang it around because that apparently does something to the spiritual or whatever. But
you know what's interesting?
I'm gonna get
side
some garlic
note.
in here.
Yeah, but when you break the skin of garlic, it changes the molecular structure, and there's something about it that is very medicinal. Rhonda Patrick was talking about it on Joe Rogan podcast.
Which is also interesting that apparently, I don't know how verified this is, but my friend, she told me eating garlic repels mosquitoes, which are bloodsuckers.
That's because you fucking stink.
Dude, that's crazy.
That's interesting.
That's heavy.
I know roasted garlic is a super healthy home remedy that people have been using
but
forever.
the fact that placebo exists means that this whole like mind, whole connection between your how your cells work and what's happening spiritually or intellectually at least is real.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah.
Pizzagate.
Speaking of vampires,
let's go.
So have you guys? Have either of you watched the Ben Swan, the OG breakdown that he did like 3-4 years ago? Dude, it's 5 minutes long. Then you realize why this guy got kicked off of Fox and off of CBS. He was really trying to show you what's going on. And he takes it from I feel the proper angle where he's talking about the symbolism that they're using. He's talking about just the insanity that Elephantis was like posting.
Dude, have you seen his Instagrams?
Oh, yeah,
it's so crazy.
His name even, James Elephantis, if you kind of push it into a French word, it's almost J'aime les enfants.
Yeah,
it's true.
It's
true.
And there's actual T-shirts on his Instagram page of people with a J'aime les enfants.
Oh man.
Yeah, it's very
James
dark.
Elephantis.
Yeah, if you just start playing with the words and just kind of fusing it into French a little bit, it's J'aime les enfants.
How does this guy, pizza owner, become one of the top 50 most powerful people
He's
in
on
Washington,
the list
D.C.?
Is it a Forbes list that
something
that
like that?
on?
I can't remember if it was
there's
Forbes.
There's a well-known publication that lists the most influential people in DC, and this pizza shop owner is in the top 50.
Comet Ping Pong.
How the fuck is a pizza place?
Or is it Comet Pizza? I don't remember.
Comet Ping Pong.
He was Comet Pizza, and there was Best Pizza, which was the one that was next door, and that's the one that actually had the Boys Love
with a ping pong
symbol in the pizza, and they changed it the day after it happened.
Speaking of the Boy Love logo, Gavin Newsom, the governor of California, for I don't know how long he had this up, but weeks at least that I was aware of it, like going back and checking, and it was there every day. His Twitter, like the banner image, so not the profile pic, it's the one that's in the back, is of a rally, and him and his wife are sort of at the front of the photo in focus, and then there's just a sea of people behind them, but in focus is a hand up, and the hand has been photoshopped so that the index goes in a tight spiral, like something that your hand could not do. So it's like it's clear above all the rest. It's like kind of like in the background, but it's very obvious, and it's the Man Boy Love logo
symbol, the triangle there,
photoshopped out of a finger, like using a hand to make the
Sorry about that.
Wow. Yeah, that's
so it's not an accidental. It's an image that was altered. So who altered it? And who gave it to Gavin Newsom? Like, let's say he doesn't know what's going on. Let's give him the benefit of the doubt.
Somebody's in charge of his Twitter, right?
Let's say. But someone put that in there because it's not a real hand.
Yeah, that was intentional. Maybe the editor, right? There could be some let's not immediately cry foul. Let's say it was somebody else. There's a possibility, but it's still very sketchy.
It's still something that had to be put there intentionally,
Exactly.
and the fact that it's there and it was in his on his Twitter page. So it's creepy, bro. It's like,
It's
why
very
would you
odd.
have that symbol there?
Especially known symbols, like because I think that was a 2007 FBI release document that kind of confirmed a lot of the symbolisms that they had been using, and
That's where you get like the terms like pizza, pasta, hot dogs, all these things.
exactly. And then you see it in the Podesta emails where they're ordering. Yeah,
So
exactly.
the whole idea about adrenochrome is that these people that are in this cult are sacrificing children and creating fear in these children, and to the point where they produce so much adrenochrome and then they sacrifice them, and then they use that adrenochrome blood for, I guess they do fucked up rituals where they bathe in it or whatever.
They drink it.
They drink it, and what's crazy about this is all for the god Moloch. That's what they believe in, Moloch, and Moloch throughout history is the god of child sacrificial.
Yeah. Well, if what Ra is saying is real or has even some truth to it, there are entities, and that's not to say that they are even like the way we would imagine like a physical entity. There could be spiritual thought form entities at least, but I honestly have no idea how this fucking works. But there are groups.
I could speculate.
I could speculate, yeah. But there are groups that come here and teach and choose elites and teach them the ways of enslaving others and teach them the ways of power. So to have a god Moloch, they might fucking like the Clintons might know Moloch. The Clintons might have have a personal rapport with Moloch, and he's telling them what to do.
Here's where it gets scary, because if for the listeners never heard of Pizzagate, which I'm sure everyone has by now, sounds fucking crazy, right? One of the WikiLeaks emails was very specific from Huma, whatever her name is, Hillary's
Huma Abedin.
Huma Abedin. She wrote to Hillary, the rabbits out of the attic or something. Hopefully later today I'll sacrifice a chicken to Moloch in the backyard.
In the backyard. Yeah.
Okay,
There
what
was
the
another
fuck-
one too
what the
where
fuck is that?
What are you trying to say? You know,
from the
You know?
I think it was from one of the Podestas to another one. It was like I'm still in the torture chamber.
Yes.
What a night last night kind of thing. Like
What is going? They're talking in code, and it's so obvious. Pizza-related handkerchief. There was one where it said
Oh, that
maps.
one,
Yeah, it said it was to John Podesta. It said that the realtor found a pizza-related handkerchief. It seems pizza-related. Should we worry or should you worry? Or do you want it back? Like, these are in the emails, and when you start looking
handkerchief with maps on it, right?
it was
And
a map.
I think
Pizza-related map.
maps means semen. I think is what the anyway.
Yeah. Or someone else broke it down to me. Maybe the realtor was like someone who puts everything into place.
like
Yeah.
an Epstein.
Yeah,
So
like an Epstein, yes.
everything we're saying sounds a little out there, but we are slowly piecing together the larger puzzle, and these things are becoming mainstream. We know that Epstein was the pimp for these people, for Wexner, and which was probably the head of the pedophile snake on the Western Front. But this thing, according to people like Maria Farmer, who's Epstein's first accuser from the 90s, she's like, this goes so deep. It's mainly for blackmail is the intention that they're
Right, that's what I was
using
gonna
it for, is
say.
to control people.
Not all of these individuals who are implicated are drinking adrenochrome.
How do we even know the Prince Andrew one could just be a blackmail setup, right? So right now
really
the
don't know.
speculation they're saying is Giselle's taking a fall. She's going to take the hit for Prince Andrew. What if it's shenanigans? What if this is just a blackmail picture and he didn't actually do anything? We don't know. That's the problem. They don't have any information. We don't have any of the videos, and we know there's thousands and thousands of hours of video footage. Who has it? Where is it?
What I think is Epstein is the tip of the iceberg, but I think Epstein isn't even as deep as it goes. I think he's like the party planner.
He's like the
Yeah,
Gatsby guy.
he's a front level pimp. That's all he is.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And front level at such a deep level. Imagine that. So we don't even know what's behind all those.
Yeah.
But I don't think maybe there's some Moloch shit going on in that fucking party zone.
maybe.
But I think the main thing for that was just the beginning of controlling and creating power structures in the deep state.
Yeah.
What if that's
You know?
all it is? Like, I love subverting my own expectations. Like, what if it's all a red herring and it's like, it's just for blackmail?
I prefer
There's no
even
Moloch,
if
there's
it
no
is-
adrenochrome.
Even if it is just that sounds crazy for the average person, but it's actually true and it's actually being
It sounds crazy as like a storyline,
I
but
prefer-
it's so
Movie scene.
physically doable.
I prefer it from that side, because at least that way the people on the other side are still human. We can still cut off their heads. These are
Yeah.
things that can be taken
This
care of.
is the David
Once
Icke
we
thing,
start to
the
move
lizard
towards
brain.
Once you start to
It's
go
a
towards
capacity.
other
those
entities,
extraterrestrial things, how do you defeat? How do you
Well, this is
change
the thing is
things that you can't understand?
Ra would
people
say
we
that
can
like
take care of.
you're not actually trying to defeat them in terms of like any kind of a conflict that you can have in an armed sense on these planes, because obviously something that is of a higher ability would be able to annihilate you. But the point is that they want your free will. They want you to choose them, and if all you have to do to defeat them is simply understand what's going on.
Don't
Tyler
give
Durden,
consent. No.
Yeah.
The most powerful word in the universe is no.
Yeah.
You know, Passio is a guy I grew up watching religiously and listening to. He's the OG conspiracy theorist. I'm sure we all know Passio, and you know the things that he's able to bring to the table in terms of esoteric understanding, in terms of hidden information, is someone like no other. And the way he will be belligerent with that information, it's very difficult to negate it after you make those kind of larger understandings of how reality actually functions. You know. I find he's a stepping stone towards raw concepts at the end of the day. You know,
Yeah, because he's so grounded, but he really touches on some of that crazy stuff, and it gets really out there. And yet, Marc Passio is just such a relentlessly grounded human being.
Who else has done a 9-hour presentation on natural law? Just completely,
and it was so concise.
Yeah,
That's
9
what's
hours
fucked
of
up.
concise information.
Yeah,
That's a
you're
lot.
like, oh god,
That's dense.
No, dude, he's wearing the Metatron cube, and I am convinced that like he would die if he took it off. Like he
all
needs
that's
that
holding
shit.
him together in this reality. Well, what do we do, like, as a species? What do we do in the face of this? In the face of Pizzagate?
I think right now the only thing we can really do is continue to speak the truth, because the truth is eternal. The truth cannot be. It can be obfuscated. It can be hidden away
It
for
will
a little
surface
while,
up at
but
some
it will
point.
pop out again.
It's a bubble. You know, you can push it down as much as you want, but that thing's coming to the top.
The Buddha said,
Yeah.
nothing is hidden for long. You know, the sun and the moon and the truth do not remain hidden for long. And Tyler Durden said, our war is a spiritual war.
Yeah, dude.
You know, I've been sharing a lot, but on Facebook, but there's so many people getting busted for pedophilia right now.
It's all over the world, yeah.
In high levels. And then Germany announced that they were probing, like, or the
government was...
They were aware of the government was selling or sending, or aware of that the 30,000 children were being pawned off to
from
predators. And they were aware of this, and that now they're probing like 30,000 potential pedophiles or something like that.
I have a theory as well. I don't know if you were done.
No,
I just
go
want
for
to
it.
chime in.
Yeah.
In the 60s-ish, they started doing advertisements and like infantilizing women a lot. Like, you know, youthfulness is sexy. You know, it doesn't matter if you're 60. If you see a hot 20-year-old, you want to fuck her. I'm
But you
sorry.
can
We're
push
all
that,
disgusting.
right? You can
yeah,
push
but
that.
no one's attracted to fucking kids.
No.
That's something that happened. That's not like there's no evolutionary reason for that. I don't think.
I think there's a reason Pornhub and all this stuff is doing this weird stepdaughter, stepdaddy
Constantly.
stuff. Like they're trying to bombard
Not that I
people
know.
with that.
Just
Well, they're
pedophile concept for some
they're
reason.
taking it's a demand. That's what's scary. But like for decades now, it's been like, dude, there's some ads.
Was there a demand for it? That's where I'm
now there
hesitating to
is.
say that. I
You
believe
create
they're
the
creating
demand.
demand. I think they were pushing these kind of ideologies, because I remember all
it's
of a
like
sudden
money.
it popped
It's
up out
an
of
agreement.
nowhere.
I think there's
It's an agreement,
There's a
exactly.
deeper relationship though, but I think that they could have a little. It's like that quote that example using about going for the takedown and then defending the takedown. You have like a 52 to 48 percentage,
Something like that.
So they're creating that 52 percentage, and then we're biting into with a 48. So they are dictating the demand.
But the
I don't
48 can
like
still
that
win,
analogy.
you know? The 48 can still win. if
Yeah,
I don't like that analogy, because you think you're fighting the guy, but the guy is like a red herring. Like they know if you're gonna go left or right, or if you're gonna quit. Whatever option you can take, that's not where the free will lies. That's why it's a spiritual war, like we said earlier. Like, doesn't matter what you do. You're playing with people who are like, they're playing chess, and you're a square on the fucking chessboard. You're not even a piece. Like, you're just the thing they do
That's a
stuff
good
on.
analogy. I like that.
Yeah, like it's sad but true. Like that's our karma. That's like what can I do in my society? You know, can I really become president? Can I really fucking change things? I am but one man. You know, like they're not. They're a fucking army and a legacy, and they have the information. Like you were saying, it doesn't matter if if Ra is fake. The information is real. And when you look at the elder prophets of Zion, the protocols for the elder prophets of Zion, or whatever it's called,
It's going down, man.
that is true. You read that and you have a new way of looking at the world. I don't care if you debunk the source of the book or whatever.
Right.
That information is real. You are looking at how mob mentality works and how people could co-opt it and control, like, governments, control the economy, the world.
Control other consciousness.
Because-
Just
yeah.
how do
Check out-
you play these games? How do you keep people in a channel of belief. You're like knocking them to the right, knocking them to the left,
and that's what I'm talking about. They're gonna you have a contingency. You have a Batman plan where it's like, if they go left, I'm gonna do this. If they go right, I'm gonna do this. If they turn around, I'm gonna do this. So like, you can't win. Like, there's no win if you're playing their game.
But the win is the realizing of the game and being like, we're playing a game. And then they go, fuck, you figured it out.
Exactly.
That's what I think is happening right now.
And that's funny, because in 4chan, if you think of the game, you lost. And you all just lost.
they were teaching you, bro. They were teaching you.
You win, actually.
Yeah. If you're like, I just won the game, they're like, oh, man. And that's a sick analogy. And I remember enjoying that thought experiment of a game and laughing whenever someone played it. I'd be like, oh yeah, I forgot about that game. You did just win.
You all just lost.
But it's deep. It means a lot now that I think about it.
That's crazy.
It's super deep, man. With the protocols, I think, is one of the most pertinent bits of information that we can get to, and we can make it palatable by just changing a couple words. If you don't say the word Jewish and you say speculator class or financial bankster, now all of a sudden you have a proper way of describing what's been happening for the past 100 years.
Yeah.
Exactly what's happening. It's just, I feel that in that book, they use the word Jewish as the scapegoat, as a way of having that anti-Semitism argument versus using the proper linguistics for who they are, which is the financial elites that run basically all of our control system, because they run money. Money is the main limiter in our society.
Like that's the root, like we were talking about before. Like that's the forum for everything.
The outer walls of the box is money, let's say.
Yeah. And if you try to attack that, people are like, you're not even playing my game. Like, why should I talk to you? It's like, yeah, but let's get out of this game, because
they're like, no, bro, we need to fix the game.
Yeah, we need
to
fix
you got to
the
vote
game
for Democrats.
from
You got to don't you see voting for Democrats is going to be the way to stop Trump from ruining the world.
Old Sleepy Joe is going to save the day.
Pedo Joe.
I can't wait to see those debates, bro. That's going to be hilarious.
It's going to be a disaster.
I think they're setting up a landslide for Trump on purpose. I think he's
Trump
he's
wins
no
again,
mask, Biden's mask. What's going to happen? They're setting up the divide. They're going to put all the people who have just a moderate capability to critical think, they're going to force them onto Trump's side. Just because they're going to go with...
The system's already set up for that, because the whole split the vote. And
then when Trump wins, now it's an excuse to really push the war and really be like, well, Trump's going to ruin the country. Look what he's done in the last 4 years. Look all the people he's killed with coronavirus.
Look what's happening with China. No. Yeah.
They're just going to be like, we need to end this now. And then that's when they get people to accept violence.
Not realizing that Trump is playing the good cop, bad cop. Like, he's bought and owned just like the Democrats are. It's two heads to the same snake.
What people really should be passionate about and upset about is the fact that you have a system where voting is the only real way you have of exercising any choice and exercising any power.
It's totally bottlenecked.
And
you're voting for a guy to do all the thing, and then your vote kind of matters. It kind of doesn't.
Well, there's a lot of layers to it, because you are voting for a guy, or let's say cabinet, who promises to do certain things once they get into power, and it rarely happens. Yep. And then you're also choosing from a pool of people who have been selected by other elites. Yeah. There's a class of people in Washington that pay for campaigns, that donate to campaigns. So these are basically people who are endorsing who is going to represent
them.
They're
betting on both sides.
And of course, the fact that there's only two sides is a red flag.
A great quote I saw on the internet was the left wing and the right wing, but it's part of the same bird.
Same bird, baby.
That's a good one. Yeah.
That's what it is.
And it's not the
it's an illusion of choice.
It's not the eagle of freedom. It's maybe a bat wing.
Going back in history, we know they've always done that. The financial bankers. You have the story of Rothschild, how they played the Napoleonic War. So what was happening is there was Napoleon. So they're going towards their battle. He comes out. He has a couple agents that are there. They come back saying that they had lost the war. So they put that out in the papers. The stock market crashes. He buys up everything, and the next day or a couple days later, they're like, "Oh, it turns out that was misinformation. We won. England won." Exactly. Same idea.
Well, it's like George Soros. He had an interview. He says he just puts his money on the winning side, and that's where he's always just going where the money goes. He doesn't care about anything else.
He was a youth during the Holocaust, and he lied about
Yes, I was
being
gonna
a
get to
Hitler
that point.
Jews and everything.
Jewish.
That's the kind of person he is. He pretended not to be a Jew, and then he was part of the teams that were seizing
He
Jewish
confiscated assets. He was
That's
he
the
was
kind of human he is.
proactively participating.
There's your service to self.
There's super service to self. And
Yeah.
dude, I know I met a musician a couple years ago who's like, he's got a blue check mark. Like he's not the top of the heap in Canada, but he's like on like a major label. He's coming up, right? He's just, trying to sing songs and make some money, and he's doing a good job. But he posted a fucking meme of George Soros playing chess with some rioters, and then the amount of heat that he got from other artists, from other people about being racist, about being anti-Semitic, like these people are extrapolating so much on an image. What he's actually saying is he's saying there is someone who's using his influence to control what's going on. He's paying these people to do certain things, to incite violence, do all these things. And how is mentioning that in any way dealing with his Judaism?
Pointing out a puppet master has no bearings on somebody's race, religion, or creed.
No.
It has a basis on their action.
But the dude
a
had to.
fallacious argument in of itself.
The dude issued an apology saying, like, it was like 4 paragraphs saying, like, I'm sorry for the anti-Semitic racist post I made. I didn't realize I was being anti-Semitic, but I guess I really was, kind of thing.
You just have to. You're just on your heels at that point. Like you're just screwed.
It's just.
That's the terrifying part about this PC culture that we've created and this cancel culture, where literally if you express a train of thought that is not agreeable towards the larger cult of society, you can lose your job. And your business will take that stance, which to me is unheard of.
Is that not fascism?
Of course, there should be
Is that not
separation.
fascism?
You should be allowed
That
to
is
say-
the exact model of fascism.
It's pressure.
Yeah. You should be allowed to say whatever you want.
It should be subject
outside
to
of work,
debate.
and you should only be penalized at work for doing something at work.
And whatever you say should be able to be spoken about and challenged in a debate in an intellectual setting. It should
Especially if you're not influencing that like circle of life. You just have an opinion on it, and they're like, you can't think that way. Like, why the
How
fuck
dare
not?
you say that, right?
Yeah,
Like,
so what if I
You
think
know,
the Earth is flat?
say what you want.
Well, how does it fucking affect your life?
Say what you want about Trump for whatever opinion you have of him. It is unfair that Trump supporters had to go in hiding and vote for him in silence because they couldn't even speak about their views.
Of course, it's insane.
Well, any of those internal war things are unfair. Like,
But this is the culture that we're in right now, and it's that you have opinions that have to be kind of kept under the rugs in silence because you fear you might lose your fucking job.
and it's
for
fucking
being
rhetoric. That's the worst part.
Yeah.
You know, like that Roseanne thing.
Yeah.
That wasn't even racism. They're just like, that sounds racist, and she's like, that's
Yeah.
not what I meant at all. She looks
Yeah.
like a monkey. I didn't even know she was black or whatever the fucking. I don't
And
even
you
remember
see
the story.
haircut. You see the haircut. You're like, yeah, that's exactly the haircut the monkey had in the movie of Planet of the Apes. Like,
And
that's a
they're like,
perfect
no,
joke.
you lost your show.
But then that's
What?
another thing with
Yeah.
comedy. If you take it out of context on paper, you're fucked.
Yeah.
You know.
That's calming down at least. I fucking hope. You know,
Well,
it's
we
like
had-
this
No,
guy's
it's-
on stage pulling
It's
shit
not.
out of his ass.
It's ramping up, man.
Ugh.
I think Rogan and Chappelle and people like that have had good points where they took the time. I'm going to have a half an hour bit explaining this, that you have to be able to let me say what I'm going to say. And it's a joke, bro.
Part of the joke, yeah.
You
I
know?
think it's ramping up on both sides. There's a rough divide. There's dumber and dumber, smarter and smarter, more and more radicalized, less and less
polarization,
radicalized.
catalyzation. That's what Ross says, is that these moments, not everybody graduates. And so these moments, the ones who polarize,
Next 25,000
graduate.
years.
Yeah, or that means that if you choose in this lifetime, after you die, you'll be placed on a planet that is of the next stage. Like, it's not to say that we're all going to the same place, or we're all in it. Like, we're being asked to basically choose right now.
It's like a grade. It's like a school, like a part of a school or something. Like a
Yeah.
like this is elementary
I
school.
hope I'm passing whatever test this is.
Bro, you're passing. You and Lily, bro. You guys are good.
51%. 51%
Yeah, that's all you need.
service to others is all you need to be included, apparently.
I think it's just a conscious choice. I think we're going to get to that pinnacle point, that singularity moment,
Yeah.
and we're going to be given that choice. And your conscious choice is going to direct you either in the path of one.
But the
or
choice is
six.
now. The choice is happening at every individual choice you make, and I guess
Absolutely.
and it's where you're. If you're the part of the team that's just cancel this fucking person, he's a racist fascist, close him off, and close that person off, and you're trying to create this fucking world that you envision out of force, you're going down the wrong fucking way of thinking, man.
Absolutely.
Hip fire censorship.
It's craziness, though. It's so crazy, and it's happening everywhere.
Yeah.
Well,
You know?
the force will never really work long term.
That's it.
You'll get short-term experience out of reactions of fear and stuff if you use force, like use like.
But it can get scary, man. It can get very because let's use the right wing for example. The right people in the U.S. If you push them far enough in the corner, they're the ones with the guns in the end of the day.
Yep.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
that's the scary reality. man.
Antifa thinks that they know how to fight because they have these little classrooms where they teach people how to poke people's eyes and shit. But like, that doesn't do
That's
much.
what scares me, though, is that how much can you push? We spoke about backing an animal to the corner. If they start feeling like they're really the minority and they're a select few, they're the ones with this dangerous weapon.
That's happening on the left and right split, but that's also happening on the whole. Like, humans are being pushed into a corner, and that's what I find interesting is that the act of pushing into the corner is what awakens us.
Pushes us back. Yeah.
That's why the Illuminati is like arguably the good guys in the way that it gives us like a straw man
Illuminates.
enemy, like a
Yeah.
common enemy. And the real divide right now, maybe like if you want to go good and evil, like a step down, is rich and poor. That's the real problem.
Elite and not elite.
Yeah.
You know, and they are
Have and have
currently
nots.
trying to separate that even further.
Yeah.
But the real, like the elite versus the non, that's the pushed into the corner that I'm seeing right now, that a lot of people are woken up to. That's that's a really cool thing about the lockdown from COVID. Like, people are using the internet properly. That's what I keep saying now. Like, we're communicating, we're contacting each other, we're sharing ideas, we're learning things online. It's not just about being in the fucking gossip circles anymore.
Yeah.
It's
Being
about
an
like, what can I
influencer.
actually do? Like, how do I start a garden? Like this, there's something kind of grounded about what we're learning now, becoming a better person. And like, instead of just this egoic knowledge hoarding almost. Anyway,
This
I
is
feel
the
a rant
second
coming
great
on.
deception. I feel when we have these massive deceptions, they cause these huge amounts of awakening to happen. 9/11 was the last big one that woke up a lot of people when that happened.
That was my it thing for me, where I was like, why is another building being demolished by a controlled implosion the same day?
Right next to
Tower 7, please.
Yeah, like, don't you think that in the midst of all this shit that's going on, you're like, what just happened? Did we just get attacked? Holy shit, these buildings are falling down.
Wasn't there like a news report about
There
it
was also
falling
that about
before it fell?
There was
or
also
something
that.
crazy?
Yeah. She's
I don't
talking
know-
about it with it
Yeah.
in her background.
I don't know how verified it was, but I did see that video
Is
where
that
she
a
was
fake
saying it and
background
then
maybe?
it fell.
Yeah.
But I forget who it is, but someone who was in charge of making some kind of choice that day said that we had to pull the building.
Oh, that's Silverstein. He was the guy who owned Building
whole-
7.
yeah.
Yeah, and he had taken out an insurance policy for terrorism specifically
money.
about 2 months behind.
2 months.
Follow the
before.
money.
2 months is like nothing.
Follow the money.
You're like,
It's
hey,
all there,
I
man.
need some insurance. When you hang up the phone, you blow it up. Like
The
the same
Titanic
thing.
all
But
over again.
that to me was like, how do you justify that logically? Where the same day that you got surprise attacked, you have rigged your building to demolish.
You don't. You hide that information. It's the same thing with COVID. If
You
you
say
look
it.
at it, you see what's happening. The passports that magically flew out of the plane that smashed into the buildings.
Oh,
and
they were
landed for-
preserved.
and
They were
it's
preserved.
The insanity of it all. But all you have to do is look. It's the same thing as COVID. If you take the time to look, you see the insanity. You see none of this makes sense, and they're just making it up as they go along.
And just go along with, look at what we spoke about with the stocks. Look at who sold their stocks
Yeah.
right before the chaos happened. Look at who took the insurance policies right before the 9/11 happened. The money tells you everything.
That's
It's
it,
right
and,
there.
And like, look at how they play with your thoughts. Like what are you supposed to be thinking about? Where is the battle line? Where is the right
New
now? The
normal,
battle
new
line
normal,
is
new
about
normal.
masks. The battle line right now is about masks. I feel it in the city, but that means that people are not even debating whether COVID is actually going to kill you or not.
I said the exact same thing to Jay the other day. Like I walked through my kitchen and I went to meet him, and there was like news, and they're debating stuff in that box of COVID.
Assuming
and
it's like they've already just assumed that COVID is going to kill everybody. And that's where they're trying to put you in, and then they push the narrative below that line.
that depressed me because it's like they're
trying hard,
arguing they're arguing within us a paradigm that I don't believe in.
Exactly.
And I'm
It's
just
like
oh,
it's
God.
like if I was like, Sammy, you work at Pizza Hut, and you're like, no, bro, I don't work at Pizza Hut. I work somewhere else. I don't know if you want me to say where
and then
where
you're
you
like
work.
then you're like Blue Apron or Red Apron,
And you're like,
I'm
no,
but I don't work at Pizza Hut.
You're like, but I've seen evidence that he's worn the red apron more than he's worn and then people start talking about which apron Sammy wears, and he's like, okay, these people are not going to accept the fact that I don't work there anymore. If I come out and tell them that they just wasted the last hour of their life just talking about which apron I wear, they're going to be like, fuck you, bro. You work
That's a
at
good
at
point.
Pizza Hut.
Psychologically speaking, backtracking
They've
is a
invested
hard thing
thinking.
to do. Yeah,
you've invested time.
thinking.
You've invested all these like decision makings that you've had to do.
And that coupled with the misinformation thing
The
that we grab
fear.
onto. But like, how like someone says, oh, Pizzagate wasn't real. And then everyone latches onto that. And it's like, you didn't look into anything. You just heard about something, and then you heard a tail information, like a little tag add-on. and you're like, that's the truth now. And then you move on with your life without looking into it, without understanding that most of everything you understand is a fucking subjective nonsense and has nothing to do with base reality.
Because experts.
Because exactly. So those two together, what the fuck do you know, really?
Yeah, you know what? Like you're basically choosing between things that are being presented to you by something else most of the time, and that is
good luck.
You can see that in the micro, and you can see that in the macro. So I've since deactivated my Facebook because I find like it's a dumpster fire of people just posting crazy shit.
Good move, bro.
But in the last post I made, I was really heated, and there were gyms that were the police were coming and they were inspecting COVID protocols, and they didn't even shut down the gyms. Like, it was just the fact that they were there pissed me off.
Yeah.
And I was like, I made a post like, this is fascism. Like, these police are not my doctors. These government officials are not my doctors. And even if they were my doctors, I don't have to listen to them.
Yeah.
So
I saw a great meme from a doctor who was like, he gets asked the question. He goes, so when do you guys think this COVID situation is going? He goes, I don't know. I'm not a politician. Oh. You know, it's like a doctor saying that, you know?
Yeah.
I saw that too, actually. Yeah.
But someone wrote me a private message after I had made that post, because I posted it, and then it was super angry. Like, I was like, this is fascism. This is what fascism looks like. And like, to someone who has experienced what Hitler did, it's not quite there yet. It might be on the way there, but it's not quite there yet. So I'll concede, right? But someone wrote me, and they were like, if you don't like it, just go vote.
Yeah, no.
Well, like,
we
fucked that up
false
earlier.
dichotomies.
Yeah.
So
I
already
didn't
there,
vote.
we have concepts that
A lot
we
of people
can
don't.
discuss that these people are not even familiar with. They don't even understand the concept of false dichotomy, a false choice. You know,
I tried to
being
explain,
given
but-
A and B. There's no A and B. It's to the left and right wing on the same bird.
But even
you know?
for the COVID thing, it's like, I don't like what's going on. I was never asked, like, should we? There was a bunch of things that we could have done. We could have given the CERB. For those of you who don't know, in Canada we have this thing called the CERB, the CERB, and it's basically just like free money to whoever's out of work because of this thing, and this thing being the shutdown imposed by the government. So they took your job and they feel bad, so they're giving you money. But we didn't get a say. No. They could have just let everyone work and paid the people who were vulnerable to stay home, right? They could have done a bunch of shit. But I would just maybe have appreciated being asked, what should we do? Hey, COVID's coming up. Quick poll on your phone. Get this app. What do you think we should do?
It's like, well, the guy who made the decision, you voted for him, so
Right.
you must, like, you by proxy are okay with his decisions in the future.
How the hell did I know COVID was going to come up? And how the hell did I know what he was going to do in relation to COVID coming up? There's no way of knowing that.
Yeah.
And
now you're forced to make new decisions that you were not even where you were starting.
Right.
You know, now you're stuck in this whole, okay, and now this is the new reality that I'm forced in. Okay, how do I choose what to
and
do
then
now?
if you take this individual's advice and say, okay, I'll go vote, it's like I'm choosing between
playing the game.
I'm choosing between two people from the same class. They're in the elite class. They're in the fucking
that are placed there.
the
These
political
are not
class. They have to get through so many stages of vetting to be the head of a party.
Yep.
That like the party decides what these people do and who gets to
Some
be
of those
there.
stages arguably are citizens as well, and maybe you could like rise the ranks in effect, but like
Yeah.
it's a system of crony capitalism, and then you have to choose the crook on the left or the crook on the right. Like know you're gonna get fucked over.
It's built on people. It's built on free will, but
Who
the
do you want?
system exists. Like,
Well, that's the free will. The system is built of
It's
the free
built
will
on
of,
the free will.
of greedy people. People gain power, use that power to gain
Yeah.
more power, to make systems where their power is sustainable, and then you have what we have now. And people don't see how deep that can go. And someone who's playing with the stock market, it's in your face every fucking day.
But if you ask any of those individuals on the chain if they think what they're doing is right or wrong, they're just like, well, if I don't do it, someone's
else
going to
will.
do it. Like, I'm just looking out for me, bro. Like, I'm just trying to feed my kids.
And you try to
it's
tip the
fear
scale.
too, right? Like,
Yeah.
like everybody that lives under this whole blanket of like capitalism hierarchy just is like, well, if you don't do it,
Yeah.
somebody else will.
Someone else will.
if you don't do it, the bottom of the pyramid is for you.
That ties into the serving
And
of
that's
self.
homelessness and
Yeah.
disease. That's just.
But that's the system. Is
you're a
it's
wretch at
serving
that
of
point.
self. Everyone's just serving of self.
Yeah.
You better serve yourself
Yeah.
or else
The next
there's
guy's
nothing
gonna
there
do
for
it.
you.
Yeah, and
the
I'm gonna
whole-
miss out.
The money symbolism being the god, the mon-I, like the single eye, like, and it's the single eye. I just said it even, like
Yeah.
the self.
Dude,
the
even
one
the
guy.
like global, what's it called? The global citizen. There's a like an organization that was very active. It's at least in the arts world. Like they put on a bunch of concerts with Elton John and Lady Gaga and stuff, and it was like stay at home.
Oh yeah, the one that happened with the COVID.
They've had 2 or 3 of these events, and both the name Global Citizen, which is the name of the organization, and all the names of their events, like stay at home, on the O or on the A or the vowel, they always put the hand around it to make it look like an eye. So it's like the symbolism that we're all familiar with. It's almost a meme in itself. It's a joke. The
all-seeing eye,
the triangle with the eye being the Illuminati. It's like we all know it's there, but we all just laugh at it, being like, "You're a conspiracy theorist."
Hide in plain sight.
But
That's
the
best
fucking
place to
Global
hide.
Citizen is literally putting it right in your face.
You put it right in everywhere. Who's gonna believe it? They're gonna think you're a crazy person talking about it because it's everywhere.
Magic and symbols and sigils and stuff aside, like that has a lot of repercussions in your mind subconsciously because of what it is connected to.
Eye.
And then you just made a connect. You just went like, there's a good word here for connection.
Logical leap.
Well, like you just like connected those two things. So now all the work and all the energy you have about how people see and think in a certain thing, and we talked about like regression earlier, like you can get someone into a paradigm, and suddenly their entire personality is limited to this reality.
Yeah.
And then you just like put a symbol of like a triangle or something and something else, and all of that gets carried over.
That's how control works, man. From the get-go, if you understand human psychology and you remove those basic concepts from the average person that you want to control, they have no intellectual self-defense. They have no ability to stop your machinations that you're going to use against them to take them over. It's a terrifying world that we're in, where the vast majority of people have been completely either
Disarmed.
Yeah, it's a good word for it.
Intellectually
disarmed, where they can't even refute a fallacy. Something as simple as a fallacious argument that you used to learn in the classic liberal arts. You know, there's something that was a base of education back in the Greek time. 2,000 years ago, the average voter was trained to think, and that's been completely removed since the 1800s, when we started using the Prussian education system, which is a militaristic education system. It's more of an indoctrination system than anything. That's why we have 15-minute breaks and 30-minute lunches and all these kind of ideas that they put in. The bell is there to beat you in with factory systems. And none of that has evolved. None of that has mutated or changed because they don't want us to. They want to keep us in that state where I remember sending you that quote from Bertrand Russell, where he was kind of explaining that there's going to be such a divide between the elites and us. It's going to be almost 2 forms of human beings. We're going to have the ones who can think, and you're going to have the sludge of what's left over.
I hope it doesn't get
humanity.
that far.
To me, that's almost at that point.
To me, that's
man.
a world where nobody wakes up, where we get pushed against the wall and we just stand there and go, okay, and we die.
What if it's a springboard? You know, like if you ever, spoiler alert, but like if you ever watch Cloud Atlas, and that like they leave some people on Earth, and then there's like this higher society that bounces.
That's kind of the analogy Ron makes, though, is that spiritually, that's what does
breakaway
happen.
civilization.
Is that
And that's what we're doing now. You know, like
is the
capitalism.
solution just not participating anymore? Because I feel like that removes all their power.
I would say so
100%.
emotionally, yes.
I think that's the
I was
only
gonna say
option we
the
have.
same.
Is
Emotionally,
to start playing our game.
you need to stop
But
being
that-
afraid.
If you
of
stop
COVID.
participating, it's done.
Yeah.
Their gig is up.
Boycotting. I mean, if you ever watch the movie La Belle Verte, it's a great movie, or the Beautiful Green. I guess it's a French movie. There's this mirror society that's like pretty much humans, but they're very differently evolved, and they have like psychic powers and like a perfect nature melded society. And they said, we used to be like you guys, and then we did the only thing that we could, which was boycott. We threw out everything. We just said, fuck, like we don't have any power anymore. We are going to stop using your system, your computers, your cars, your old outdated models. We're doing something else now. Sorry, goodbye. That's the power. That's the only real power you have. And again, I am but just one man. Like if I stop using gas, I ain't fucking saving the planet. If I stop using computers, am I really helping myself, or am I shooting myself in the foot? Maybe neither. I don't know. But it's big decisions in terms of changing your life. But in an emotional sense, if you can be aware and mitigate your fear or sublimate your consciousness into something greater, then, you know, it's a drop in the bucket, and a drop's a drop. Yeah. But
maybe it's decentralized cities, little smaller towns, man, operating off of resources, off of skill.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, we have it all by now. We've gotten everything we needed.
If the tech that exists is being hidden, like if there's ways to pull energy out of the fabric of existence all around us.
fucking magnets.
Then-
rodent coils,
Yeah, man.
Tesla towers.
There's-
We know that
there's-
these things
exist,
Yeah.
but they're not spread widely. They're not.
Thankfully, we still have the internet, so because of that, you have people playing around with those kind of things. You can just Google or YouTube.
Well, the
rodent
internet is like,
coils
and
and-
it's a very significant thing because I feel like it's the start of us trying to create a social memory complex. It's the start of us trying to put our consciousnesses together in the way that I can understand everything. I have access to all the collective experience that we have thus far, and I have it instantly. And like Rod describes, that's what it's like. Eventually, your consciousness as a society just gets to that point.
The question is the direction that we're headed in. The
question
that
is,
the positive
yeah.
direction, or is that
Or
the
is the internet a technological perversion, a simulation of a is it sort of
Of a proper
put there
construct,
to so that we don't go seeking a real social memory,
Some kind of
complex.
telepathic or just intuitive,
They're like, you
deductive
guys,
reasoning.
kind of like junk food. Like you're hungry for real food, but the junk food tastes better, and you'll be convinced that this is what you were actually wanted, but it's not what you
sustainable.
wanted. And so maybe I'm kind of torn on this. Either the internet is us subconsciously striving towards a social memory complex, because I think we all have that desire in us, or it's both at the same time. It either comes from us naturally, or it's sort of we're being corralled into doing it with the internet and not with our real spiritual brains. You know what I'm
I
saying?
think it's a bit of both, because like anything, technology is a double-edged sword, right? It's a tool, it's the application. So you have the potentially bad guys using it for a certain direction, and you have us using it for our direction at the same time. So just like everything, the intent can't be applied towards the object. It's only human beings that carry intent, you know, at the end of the day.
I guess if we do get to like a crazy advanced like psychic civilization that's like all love and light,
Social memory.
we still need to thank you. We still need to kind of do these steps to start talking to each other, because the like the biology of the creature on Earth just can't be aware of the bigger picture. It's just space. It's just size. Like if there's people who are running the show, again, decentralization is maybe like why that's important. But if there's
Bitcoin.
if there's dumbasses running the whole show, like in a global sense, and then, you know, next thing you know, like we're cutting half the Amazon down, and there's like, you know, example.
Yeah.
Make up your own example. There's a million of them. Maybe there's a fucking. Maybe we gotta. I have too many thoughts in my head now. This is. Yeah, I lost my train of thought.
Anyway.
That's all good.
I'm fucking hot.
Yeah.
I'm like sweating right now.
I think we should also cut it at that point. I have something in 45 minutes.
Okay, cool.
Any other points or things or something, or
Just
maybe I'll
that,
remember what I was saying.
If you're listening to this, please be aware of what you allow yourself to be afraid of.
Verify all sources. Don't just listen to mainstream media, CBC.
Yes.
There's tons of great people who have dissenting opinions. If you're interested in some good journalists, Whitney Webb, fantastic. She's all into Epstein right now. Last American Vagabond, Corey Morningstar is a Canadian journalist. They're at the forefront of what's going on. World Economic Forum, BlackRock, Global Reset. Google that stuff.
And if you can't confirm it, you don't know.
Boom.
That's okay.
Yeah. And also know that fear is the currency of control. So if you can reduce your fear, whether it's meditate,
Increase your freedom.
yes, as simple as that. Those fear is just self shackles that you're putting on yourself.
Indeed.
So just
Choose love.
eat the mushrooms, meditate, do it all, man. Whatever you can to get out of that fear state. And when you're out of the fear state, you're going to really see what's going on.
Let the higher self drive.
Boom. Guys, that was really fun.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, that was
we
an
gotta
amazing
do this.
conversation.
We got to redo this, because this is like, our podcast has been in a great direction, and I feel like it's been very informative, but this just feels like four guys chilling out, having a deep conversation, and that's
The round table.
it's a fun feeling.
Yeah.
You
I
know?
like it.
Yeah. Thanks for having us, man.
Yeah. Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Y'all come back now, you hear?
All right.
All right, stay curious.
Boom.
You fucks.